Story 1. Ada for making my teens 16M and 14F share a bedroom. Final update. Original post, March 6, 2023. Throwaway account. My husband unexpectedly passed away a few months ago, and I became a single mother to 3 kids, age 16M, 14F, and 2F. Due to the significant decrease of income, I was no longer able to continue renting where we were, and all I can afford is a 1-bedroom apartment. Currently, I am sleeping in the living room with my youngest 2F. I gave the bedroom to my 16M and 14F, and asked them to share in the meanwhile. I tried adding a privacy screen in the middle so they feel like they have their own space, but they are telling me that this isn't acceptable. Each of my kids used to have their own rooms, so this is a massive change for them. I have been looking for a better paying job for months, and so far have had no luck. I can't get a second job because I can't afford to pay someone to care for my daughter 2F outside daycare hours. Neither of my kids, 16M and 14F, are willing to help, and they say my youngest is not their responsibility. I know this situation isn't ideal, but I don't know what else I can do. For the past month, I've not been eating anything for 2 days a week and just telling the kids I'm trying out the fasting trend for weight loss purposes. But the truth is, I can't afford to feed us all, and I have been using the food bank. Prior to this, I had never had to use food bank services before, and I am so thankful that it exists. I am both thankful and deeply ashamed at the same time. Would I be the AH for telling my teens that they must share the bedroom? Would it be better if I suggested my son sleep in the living room with me and have both my female kids share the bedroom instead? I do not live in the U.S., but it is not common for teenagers of opposite sex to share a bedroom. That is something I do absolutely recognize. Edit. Gosh, I really wasn't expecting so many responses when I checked back. Thank you, everyone. All this time, I did feel it would be unfair to put adult problems on my kids. However, I will be giving them a surface-level talk about our finances. I'll also be bringing them with me to the food bank. Hopefully, they'll be more understanding. Edit 2, same day. The bedroom is larger than the living room. I am able to fit 2 single beds into the bedroom, and the kids have space to store their clothes while still having the room divider in the middle. The living room is smaller. I currently have my youngest and my own clothes stored in the hallway due to lack of space. It is right next to the washroom and kitchen, so there is a lot of foot traffic. The living room also doubles as dining space because there is no dining room. OOP is voted NTA. Update post, March 7, 2023. Next day, I had a chat with my kids after work. I still don't want to put an adult problem onto my kids, so I only gave them a brief overview of the dire financial issues we're having after my husband, their father, passed away. Us downsizing to a 1-bedroom apartment was not by choice. I also told them the truth about how I couldn't afford to feed us all and why I didn't eat 2 days of the week. I was afraid of how they would take the news, but it had gone better than I expected. My kids will be coming with me to the food bank for the next trip to help out. In terms of the rooming situation, both my older kids agreed that they did not want to share a room with my youngest 2F because she frequently wakes up at night and also has accidents. They also don't want to share with me because I get up much earlier than them to work, and it would disrupt their sleep. They would rather share the room with each other while I continue to sleep in the living room with my youngest. My 16M and 14F told me that their friends were saying no kid should ever have to watch their sibling because they didn't create them. They've been told by their friends that it's parentification to be asked to babysit for even an hour, and it is never okay in any circumstance. That was why they kept calling me an asshole when I asked if they could help with childcare so I could get a second job. Now that they know how bad the situation is, my son said he wants to find a part-time job to help contribute. My daughter apologized and said it wasn't that she hated me or her sister. Both my son and daughter said they are willing to help take care of the youngest so I can get a second job. Hopefully I can find something soon and be able to move to a larger space. Relevant comment. Commenter. Did your kids call you an asshole? OP. Not exactly. But I was called an irresponsible parent for pushing my responsibility onto them initially. I asked because I didn't see any other choice. Family helps family. There wasn't anyone else I could have asked. Newest update post, April 12th, 2023, a little over 1 month later. Since my last post explaining my housing situation, I have found a night shift job working security. It only pays minimum wage and I only get 25 hours per week, but it's at least something. I now work 2 jobs. So far this job has been very relaxed. There honestly isn't much to do during my shifts, so I'm trying to save up enough money so I can move to somewhere larger, as well as take an online training program while working. I already asked my manager, and he said he was okay with me taking remote training while on my shift, as long as there truly is nothing to do and it doesn't negatively impact my ability to work when needed. Hopefully I can find a better job after upskilling. Editor's note: OOP hasn't been active since April of 2023. I can only hope she and her family are doing well. Story 2. Ada for jumping out of the way when my niece and nephew tried to push me into a pool, resulting in them falling in final update. Original post, July 22, 2023. Removed from ATA, preserved in comments. OOP reluctantly goes to a family BBQ. OOP's nephews and nieces push people into the pool and eventually try with OOP. OP sees this coming from a mile away and steps out of the way, and the kids fall in, along with the phone they were holding to record. OOP's sisters got pissed for almost letting their kids drown, and because the phone is now at the bottom of the pool, they insist that OOP should have let the kids push him into the pool, and OP needs to apologize. OOP is voted NTA. Update post August 17, 2023, almost 1 month later. TLDR of first half of post. OOP spends the first part of this post explaining that the kids were fully capable of swimming and that the party ended on a sour note. Turns out drunk BL who face-planted had to get stitches. Sisters and BLs texted mean shit to OOP, and he and his wife blocked them. Mom and Dad were pissed at the texts and made the sisters apologize and end this nonsense. OP thought things were over, but instead gets a text from one BL saying OP needs to reimburse them for the phone. OP refuses, sends a screenshot to his parents, and says he's going no contact with sisters. Second half of the post, not a TLDR. At that point, the shit really hit the fan. Dad called them and ripped them a new one. Among other things, he told them the grandkids were not welcome at his place indefinitely. Since my mom regularly provides free babysitting, that got them pretty rattled. He also banned them from using the vacation house and told them my wife and I actually own it, not he and Mom. This completely freaked them out. Both of my sisters' own families use the place a lot, including having their friends up for weekend getaways. This was very much out of character for my folks. They'd clearly had it, and for reference, I never wanted my sisters to know we owned the place. We bought it for my folks. They'd always wanted a place in the mountains. Keeping the ownership quiet was just a way to avoid drama with my siblings. A couple of days later, my sisters and their husbands came to our place unannounced to apologize in person. We were out to dinner, and they left a note. One sister also called me at work, too. I sent her a voicemail. We've decided being no contact is the best thing for the indefinite future and haven't interacted with them for the last 3+ weeks. Personally, I'm done. They can go pound sand. Update 2. Post, August 26, 2023, 9 days from previous post. Editor's note, just wanted to include this first line. Well, it's been an interesting last few days. I thought the shit had hit the fan before, but it was more of a fart compared to what's happened this week. TLDR, OOP provides financial context here. OOP's sisters think parents are dripping in money when in fact they are not. Turns out oldest sis and her fam have been living beyond their means and are in need of a loan, which parents can't give. She's also been renting out the vacation house once a month or so for the last 3 years and has been keeping the money. Other sister was aware of this and possibly has rented it out previously as well. OOP's parents feel awful and let OOP know. They figure that the sisters will try to convince OOP to let them rent out the house. Turns out they're right. The sisters show up and practically force their way inside OOP's house to convince them to let them use the place. They also say, quoting from OOP here, "I've been a shitty brother and that I needed to step up and plan on paying for their kids' college tuitions, since that's what family does." OOP calls them out on their bullshit, and there's a huge blow-up and the sisters leave. OOP is exhausted, frustrated, and drained. Update 3 post, September 12, 2023, 2.5 weeks from last update. Yet another update regarding the cluster F that is my extended family. Thought it might be time given what's gone on over the past 2 weeks. After my sisters came to my place, my mom and dad told me they were done with managing the vacation home. Sounded like the sisters had been pressuring them to let them use the place again. Basically, my folks handed the responsibility for place over to me and told me it was my problem from here on out. Up until then, they'd kept track of who would be using it when, and they'd taken care of routine maintenance, replacing worn-out items, etc. In any case, they decided they didn't want to be in the middle of all this crap. While I don't blame them, I'm disappointed because the damn place was supposed to be something for them to enjoy and hang out in, and they use it regularly. Plus, I've never cared that they let my sisters and their families use it. Because really, I've always thought that was my parents' call, even though I technically own it. But now my folks are going to be in the position of not having access without me being involved, and that changes the whole dynamic of the place. I've taken several steps to secure the place. I already mentioned that I locked the gate. It has a heavy-duty chain and the best lock I could find. I also did a full reset on all the door keypads and created all new codes. Security cameras got installed yesterday, which is actually pretty cool because the installer convinced me to put a high-res one that looks out over the valley. The system cost me way more than I thought it would, but the peace of mind is worth it. The installer also put up signs on the property saying the place was monitored by video. I also installed a heavy-duty lockout for the water shutoff, drain valve. I hope to hell I don't lose the keys for it because if I do, it's going to be a bear to try to remove. Haven't told anyone but my wife that the water is locked off and again, only we have the keys. Last week I got separate calls at my office from both of the husbands trying to convince me to let them use the house like they always have. The older one had gone up with some friends for a guy's hangout, but couldn't get in because of the gate lock. He was pretty pissed and embarrassed about being locked out. I'm sure he would have broken the lock if he could have. During his call, he kept bouncing between pushy and victimhood. At one point, he threatened to rip that gate out of the goddamn ground. He also admitted they'd been renting it out to a few friends, that they needed the money, I was ruining their business, and that I should refund their guests' money. Me? F that. I should have recorded the conversation with him, but I don't know how to do that from an office phone anyway. The other Bill just sounded like he was being made to call by my sister. He didn't really put up a fight when I told him not to plan on ever using the place again. In any case, I told them they can't use the place and not to ask again. At this point, I'm considering selling the vacation home. Wife and I won't use it enough to justify keeping it, and it's not like there's going to be any family get-togethers there anytime soon. I mentioned selling it to my folks. Their response was pretty much whatever. I'd more than double my money by selling it. The place consists of 3 lots with killer views and is at the end of a private road. But I'll probably wait for a while to sell. Doing so now would be an emotional decision. My sisters and I aren't currently speaking, and I have no plans to initiate contact. I don't know what the status between them and my folks is, and I don't want to. On the upside, we spent an evening with my folks last week. Went to a new restaurant that was nice. No one brought up any of this crap. Mom did update us on the nieces and nephews. She's spending time with them at their homes. Sorry this update isn't full of laughs or owns, that's just life sometimes. Update post 4, October 16th, 2023, 1 month later. A couple of people have asked for an update. Here you go. I hired a guy to manage, look over the vacation home. He lives in the area, takes care of his folks, and manages a good number of properties. Some are vacation rentals, some are weekend places like ours. He has access to my camera feeds and does a physical check on the place every week or two. I think he may have the best job in the mountains. He gets paid to drive around with his dog, walk around the properties, and hangs out on people's decks whenever he feels like it. He also has a camera feed from a house near the start of the private road that takes still shots whenever a vehicle goes past it. $450 per month plus, he'll do basic maintenance and repairs on an hourly basis. He's friends with all of the sheriff's deputies too, got a lot of peace of mind from doing this, and he sends photos from his walks to everyone once or twice a week. I have to brag a bit on my parents. I got all this from them tonight at dinner. They were getting pressure from my sisters to demand that I open up the vacation house to everyone for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving up there had become quite the tradition for the family. Not for me or my wife, we've gone once in 7 years. My dad refused to bother me about it because he knew I'd say no. They came up with what I think is a great plan, announced that they were organizing the Thanksgiving gathering, and if everyone split the cost in advance, they'd rent an Airbnb in the mountains. Otherwise, they'd host Thanksgiving at their place, or one of the sisters could host it. This caused a fight between the sisters because the middle sister was all for doing the Airbnb, but the oldest one doesn't have any money. The deadline to commit to the Airbnb has passed. Looks like Thanksgiving will be at my parents' place. Regardless, we won't be there. My parents have asked that we not sell the place for now. They decided they'd still like to use it occasionally, but not until my sisters have come to terms with the new normal. And of course they'd probably like it if everyone could get together there again down the road. But that's just not going to happen. I'd just as soon sell it and move on at this point, but I can live with keeping it if my folks do use it now and again. Plus it will be worth even more down the road. Wife and I have stayed no contact with my sisters and their husbands. Both sisters have called from new numbers, F you Google Voice, and left messages insisting that I meet with them for our parents' sake to work out how everyone can use the family vacation home. They called my wife too. I'm glad I was already in the habit of not answering calls if I don't recognize the number. I honestly don't know if they're delusional or if they think they can bully me into giving them access again. Don't really care. My parents tell me that the oldest sister and her husband are getting out of the leases for their SUV and big-ass truck and are selling their jet skis and some other shit they've never needed. That's going to be really hard on her. She's quite the braggart and won't like being seen in something older, smaller, cheaper. My Bill's identity is very much wrapped up with his truck as well. He even has a small tattoo of the truck company's logo, which frankly is one of the many reasons why he and I never hung out. Several people have suggested I make the vacation home into an Airbnb. I don't plan to do so, at least anytime soon. I know it would make money, but it would cause an incredible amount of drama across the family and would stress out my parents. They don't need that. It would also be a hassle to remove personal things my folks have there. That stuff has nowhere to go. And there would be wear and tear on the place, and I'm sure it would take some amount of time on my part, even though I'd use a manager to do it. Just not worth it to me. Update Post 5, November 27th, 2023, 1.5 months later. Title: Update #5, crap. Wrote most of this yesterday, but decided to wait to post it until I wasn't so wound up. Waiting didn't work. I'm still wound up. Sorry if this rambles, so much has happened, hard to write coherently. Things have gone to hell. I really truly did not think anything like this would happen. Short version. My brothers-in-law broke into my vacation home and were arrested. They've been charged with breaking and entering, destruction of property, and communicating threats, all Class 1 misdemeanors. I've refused to drop the charges. I might do so if I'm fully paid for the damage they caused. They were still in jail as of Saturday evening. I assume they're out by now. Things had settled down. At least I thought so. Haven't seen or heard from my sisters in over 6 weeks. My parents went up to the house for a week and had a good time. David, the property manager I hired, has worked out great. He's done a couple of repairs I asked him to do, and I've given him a list that he's going to work on. He usually sends a photo or two of wildlife or a sunset to his clients every week. Was kind of making me want to get up there. Friday after Thanksgiving, my BLs went to my vacation home. They used an angle grinder to cut through the chain on the driveway gate and damaged the gate in the process. They tried to get in through the front door, ruined the lock set, and gouged the door badly. They finally got in through the utility floor door and a locked internal door. They also broke into the barn. I'm not sure why. When they went out through the front door where they were met by sheriff's deputies and David. David gets notifications from the camera system when there's activity. He saw what was going on and called the sheriff's department. According to David, the BLs tried to bullshit their way out of it, but the deputies didn't buy it. Breaking into an empty house is a pretty serious thing up there. Usually it's meth heads who ransack the place and hawk everything. When the Bills were arrested, they freaked out big time. Were saying how they were going to beat the hell out of me, etc. Not smart to do in front of cops. David and the sheriff's office tried calling my wife and me to see what we wanted to do, but we were spending the day with her parents and had left our phones in the car so we could be in vacation mode. So they booked the BILs on everything, which is what I would have asked them to do anyway. Beals called their wives from jail, who of course freaked out. They called my folks, tried to call me, they're blocked, tried to find a lawyer up there to arrange bail. Not easy to do, given that it's a rural area and was a holiday weekend. Older sister has zero cash and her cards are maxed out, so if they made bail, my middle sister would have had to pay for both husbands. I know they were still in jail as of Saturday afternoon. We didn't check our phones until late Friday on the way home from the in-laws. There were a ton of calls and messages from my mom, dad, David, and the sheriff's department. Talk about ruining a great day. I was in such a good mood till I looked at my phone. My wife read through the texts and listened to the messages, read them out to me, and by the time we got home I had some idea of what was going on. I put my brain back into thinking mode, tried to get past my anger, failed. Called David and got the rundown on what had happened and how bad the damage was, resulting in more anger. I ended Friday by calling the sheriff's department and telling them there was no misunderstanding. The BILs had absolutely no right to be on my property and I wanted to press charges. I didn't call my folks back. Barely slept. I waited until Saturday afternoon to call my folks. They were both pretty rattled about it all, my mom in particular. My sisters had browbeat them into telling me I should tell the cops it was all a mistake and that I wanted the charges dropped. I refused flat out, told them there was no way I'd do that until I spoke with an attorney and also not until I was paid in full for whatever it will cost to fix everything 100%. My mom was crying hard by the time we got off the phone, which of course made me feel like shit. My dad suggested it was time for a complete start over, but also said he thought they needed to pay for the damage. I haven't gone up to the property yet. There's nothing I can do, and I'll probably go nuts when I see the damage in person. The photos are bad enough. I'm hoping to tomorrow or Wednesday, but my job isn't one I can just wander off from for non-emergencies. I've left messages with 2 attorney friends asking them to recommend the right lawyer to go after my sisters and BLs. I don't know what I can do exactly, but I'm hoping to get restraining orders. I have all the texts they've sent me that might help. I'm strongly considering suing them for the money they made renting the place. I don't care about the cash, but it will help make them as miserable as possible. The gloves are definitely off at this point. A couple of side notes. Bills had no idea I'd hired someone to keep an eye on things, or that there are cameras there now. My parents knew, but hadn't told them because they knew it would just give my sisters a reason to drama up. There are signs on the property stating it's being monitored with cameras and no trespassing signs, though. My wife has completely had it at this point. I don't blame her. She's been more than patient about it all, but she reached her limit and was not shy about letting me know. She told me it's up to me how I deal with this, but that she thought they all needed to be taught a hard lesson. Older Bill likely won't face any repercussions at his job over this, but Middle Bill has a security clearance, so he might. I'm hoping that will be motivation for Middle Bill to pay for the damages himself immediately. David, the caretaker, has an interesting background. I knew he was friends with some of the deputies, figured it was because they were all locals. I was wrong. He was a cop in a big city for years, was shot on duty, and afterwards decided to quit and move to where his parents had retired. He has some PTSD over it all. His dog is a certified service animal and is usually with him. I know law enforcement people tend to hang together. I guess that's how they became his friend group. I don't want to see or speak with these a-holes for the rest of my life. I know this is in direct conflict with my overwhelming urge to make their lives as miserable as possible. Relevant comment. A lot of people have said I should have been a hard ass about all of this from day one. I've avoided it because it would have stressed out my parents, and I hate this kind of drama, but if they're stressed out now. My wife has pretty much opted out of any more to do with this. Doesn't want to hear about it for a while and says it's in my lap. She'll ease off on that, but I'm guessing she's not going to get involved from now on, other than listening to me blow off steam. Edit. Regarding why they broke in, Conjecture on my part, but I think they were planning on using it for family getaways and/or renting it out again. According to David, the property manager, it's deer season through the end of the year. I know the BLs have used it in the past as base camp for big group hunting weeks. It sleeps quite a few people, so one event with friends could net them thousands of dollars. Again, I'm guessing here, but that would explain why they broke into the barn as well. I bought a 6-seater mule a few years back, and they would want use that. I don't think they wanted to trash the place. It means too much to my dad, and they both like him a lot. Update Post 6. December 2nd, 2023, 5 days later. December 2nd, 2023, Saturday. Didn't think I'd be doing another post this soon, but a lot has happened over the past 2 days. Short version, I think the corner has been turned on this crap. Thursday afternoon, I got a courier-delivered envelope at my office. In it was a signed letter from both my brothers-in-law and a cashier's check for $5,000. In the letter they made what I have to say was a really sincere apology. Among other things, they acknowledged breaking in, acknowledged it was wrong, said the $5,000 was to pay for the damage, and that they'd pay more if it cost more than that. Also said they'd stay away from the vacation home unless my wife and I specifically invited them. They also asked that I do what could to get the charges dropped as soon as possible, because they both could lose their jobs, and that they'd agree to a restraining order or whatever else it took for that to happen. There was more as well, all conciliatory, but that's the gist of it. To say this was a shock is an understatement. It was obviously a total 180 from their past behavior. I'd already made an appointment with an attorney to see about suing my BILs over the damage and to try to get a restraining order. I called him and told him what I'd just received, and he agreed to meet with me at the end of the day instead of next week. Told me not to deposit the check. We met for about 2 hours. He ended up recommending the wife and I do a settlement and mutual release agreement with all 4 of them, sisters and BILs. He said if we went after them via a lawsuit that we'd almost certainly win, but that it could take 2 years or more, there would be sizable upfront legal fees, and that we might never see any money. He also said we could keep the $5,000 free and clear, even if we didn't let them off the hook. He's drawing up the agreement. It won't be ready until Monday. The agreement will include what's essentially the civil equivalent of a restraining order. I'd already asked my property manager to work up a bid to get the damage repaired. I called him after the meeting and asked that he get me as close an estimate as possible ASAP. Got that Friday. He thinks it will take around $4,000 to fix everything. Most of that is for the front door. On Friday, my attorney contacted each of the BILs, told them what we were proposing, and advised them to get their own lawyers. They both agreed to it. The middle BL told him they could afford to either pay for the damages or pay for a lawyer, but not both, and they figured a lawyer wouldn't make any difference given that they really had no defense for what they did. His biggest concern was if the charges could be dropped. From what I can tell, they're willing to do anything, sign anything to make this all go away. My attorney also called the DA's office on Friday to discuss dismissing the charges, got the name of the prosecutor, and left them a message but has not spoken to them yet. He thinks they'll dismiss the charges because the BILs are paying up and they have no priors. But then again, he's not a criminal lawyer. Also said I should be prepared to drive up there Monday or Tuesday and tell the prosecutor in person that I want everything dismissed. He's also advised me to continue to be no contact with sisters and BILs, especially for the next 6 months, and that it will be really important to follow the terms of the agreement when it comes to future interactions with them. I'm guessing that the BLL's change of heart is due to them having figured out what's at stake for them, what it's going to cost them in legal fees and fines and so on. There's also the highly unlikely possibility that they could go to jail for up to 120 days, and as I've mentioned, one of them has a security clearance for his job that could be at risk. So this is their Hail Mary pass to keep their normal lives. This isn't a perfect resolution to the situation, but at least it will get me past the legal and financial parts of the shit show that I've been in for the past few months. I doubt I'll ever have a civil relationship with any of them ever again, and that's fine. What I want most at this point is to close this off, get on with my life, and never speak to any of them again. I'm exhausted from this. Wife feels pretty much the same way. Kind of a side issue, but getting the written apology was, weirdly, a huge moment for me. I wasn't expecting that ever, but apparently it matters to me quite a bit. The money doesn't feel particularly important at this moment. I'll damn sure take it, though. Also, I'm pretty certain my middle sister and her husband came up with the money. The cashier's check is from the credit union of the company he works for. Once things are signed, I plan to make one more update. Probably just an edit to this post. I'm sorry for being so pedantic. Writing these posts has helped clear my head, and the feedback has really helped. I truly appreciate everyone's comments, insights, and support, and I really hope none of you ever have to go this kind of nonsense. Relevant, come on? To be honest, when I finally got home Thursday night, I cried from relief thinking this might all be over. I'm not going to discuss the settlement with my folks until it's signed by everyone. My sisters, Bills, can if they want to, but I'm not. It's between me and them. Final update, December 7th, 2023, 5 days later. Tuesday morning, I met with my attorney, went over the agreement. Changed a couple of minor things, and he sent it to my sisters and brothers-in-law. It included a requirement that they pay my attorney's fee, about $3,000. They weren't happy about that and tried to negotiate it away, but he told them they either accept it as is or there would be no deal at all, and we'd proceed with suing them for the money they got from renting out the place, wear and tear from renting it, repair costs from their break-in, emotional distress, lost income from having to deal with this, attorney fees, and whatever else we could. He also told them I would push hard with the DA's office to prosecute every charge. Short version, they came in and signed. I wasn't there. I'm told it was a pretty tense environment, that the middle bill appeared to have taken charge, and that at one point he told both of my sisters to shut the hell up, or he was walking away from the whole thing, making his own deal with us, and the rest of them could all go to hell. They provided another cashier's check for $2,500, claimed that's all they had. It's close enough that we're going to accept it as the final payment. Attorney also told me that everyone was very cold and curt towards one another, but that they all managed to keep it together long enough to sign and left without making too big of a scene. I drove up to the vacation house early yesterday to check out the damage and meet with the DA's office. Seeing the damage made my blood boil. It was so senseless. I was so pissed that I was ready to eat the cost of repairs and do everything I could to ruin their lives. Tried walking it off, failed utterly. Ended up calling a good friend who was kind enough to stay on the phone for over an hour, letting me spew and vent. He eventually got me back to focusing on the bigger picture of putting this behind me and getting on with my life. Honestly, I'm still not sure that's what I want to do, but I settled down enough to get some food in me and I felt better. After lunch, I went to DA's office. Hadn't made an appointment and had to wait a while, but got to meet with the assistant DA who's got the case. Short version is that since I don't want to prosecute and the BLs have already paid for the damages, that they are willing to drop all the charges except trespassing, which in this case will be a Class 2 misdemeanor. The BILs will have to plead guilty and pay whatever fine the judge sets. I'm also told that if they fight the trespassing charge, or ever so much as fart in public up there, that it would go very poorly for them. It helped that the BLs didn't resist arrest. If they had, none of the charges would have been dropped. I also went by the sheriff's office to thank them for getting there so quickly and everything. Wanted to thank the deputies personally, but only spoke to the dispatch person. And I tried to meet up with David, the property manager, but couldn't get hold of him. A couple of notes. The agreement includes a no-contact clause. Basically, if any of them show up where my wife or I are, or the other way around, whoever got there last has to leave immediately. No contact except through attorneys or other mutually agreed-upon third parties. They get to keep whatever they made from renting the vacation house, my big give, unless I have tax consequences which they will be responsible for. And we release each other from all other liabilities up through the present. There's more to it than that, but those are the high points. Wife and I will sign the agreement later today. After that, I can't talk about most of this, but I can talk around it. I think this is my final update regarding all this nonsense, but I'll respond to comments if I can. As I've said before, posting about all of this and reading folks' thoughts and responses has been really helpful and has probably been key in my being able to handle this in a relatively healthy way, so thank you all again. Relevant, comma? I had a hard time not being vindictive, but right now I'm glad I wasn't. If they cause more drama down the road, I'll probably regret it. But if they follow the agreement, that won't happen. The family dynamics are, like you said, pretty much effed. I've only told my parents that we're trying to work things out, nothing more. They may or may not be okay with the way things will be moving forward, but I had to do what was best for my wife and I. I'm guessing that my sisters have told them a very slanted version. That's just one more turd I'll have to swim around. Really, the agreement is more a formalization of how things have been for the last few months. I know it's not how my folks wanted things to go, but I'm pretty happy with it. Have your sisters ever shown this level of entitlement before? Not really. Not towards me anyway. We used to be okay, never very close, but not enemies. Looking back, they started to resent me when I bought a loft when I was 25. At that point, neither of them owned a home, but both had met their future husbands. They definitely didn't like that got a place before they did. It got worse when I met my wife. They didn't like that she was part of a wealthy family, especially since I was doing pretty well by then myself. Accused me of being elitist and such. When we got married, I moved in with my wife. Her condo was close to where she was doing her fellowship, and I sold the loft. Our wedding was fancy but reasonable, but the sisters were definitely envious about it. After that, they and their husbands got pretty petty, and we started minimizing our involvement with them. The profit from selling the loft, being frugal and not having a house payment are what enabled me to buy the vacation home for my parents. My folks were okay with hiding the fact that I owned it instead of them because they knew my sisters would be bitchy about it and say that I was using my wife's money. I didn't. Most of our finances are separate, though it definitely helped that I didn't have a house payment. Up until this crap started, I actually thought we were okay in the general sense. Our daily lives are very different, and I can't pretend I enjoy being around them for more than half a day, but I didn't think they hated me. I did know that both sisters had become pretty spoiled, entitled, but it wasn't my concern. And I didn't have any real conflicts with my brothers-in-law either, just almost nothing in common with them. I guess that's a long-winded way of saying I didn't know they were all such assholes. Story 3. Coworker asked me to be her man of honor. I said no, and she went nuts. What did I miss? New and final update. Original post, October 29th, 2024. This happened yesterday, and I'm still confused. Yesterday was my first day back to work after being off for 2 weeks. This is kind of important. One of my coworkers had gotten engaged the week before I left. When she announced at work, we all did the congratulations and happy for her type of things. I thought it was over. So when I left for vacation, the last I knew no plans had yet been made. Then yesterday when I went back to work, my boss Kim and best friend Laura said that coworker Claire was looking for me. I asked what was up and they weren't sure, but she was carrying a little gift bag. A few minutes later, Claire found me and asked how my vacation was. I was telling them about it, and she cut me off and said she had a very important question to ask. She handed a little gift bag and asked if I would be her best man of honor for her wedding. I thanked her and told her that typically this would traditionally go to a close female relationship. She responded that there was nothing traditional about her wedding, so it was good. I looked over at Laura and Kim, who were both trying to keep from laughing. I again thanked her, congratulated her, and told her that I wasn't interested in being part of her wedding party and that I would be happier being a guest in the audience. I swear when I said this, it was when we watched her entire demeanor changed and a switch flipped. She went off saying that I have to be in her wedding and that she doesn't understand why I would say no. I told her that we only knew each other for a short time and that I had no interest in trying to plan parties, dinners, and shopping trips. She told me I needed to think about it, and she would get back to me later. I told her go for it, but my answer will be the same. She walked away, and I looked at Kim and Laura and asked what the ever-loving, fresh, creepy hell was that. Kim started to laugh and said she didn't know, but saying no like I did might have saved me a lot of headaches in the future. Laura made the comment that she went straight to Bridezilla, and this was a look into what she was going to be like. Claire came back today, however she went with a different approach and handed me a list of what she wants me to do and her vision of how she sees things. I asked her why she gave me this, and she said that as her man of honor, these were my responsibilities. I told her again that I was not going to do any of this. She started again that she needs me to do this and how much fun it was going to be. Then she asked, "Haven't you ever wanted to be part of something special?" I told her I was. I was a nurse. Enter Kim, who could sense that I needed help, and told Claire one of her patients needed her help. I told Kim that if this keeps up, I might need her help. She said she was already watching it and then would intervene if I needed it. What did I miss? We aren't that close. She just transferred down to my unit from a different unit 6 months ago. I had no idea who she was until that point. Laura is saying that she is close in age to me and she might feel that to be enough of a connection. Did I miss something? When we are asked, are we supposed to automatically gush and jump up and down in excitement? Why is saying no a bad thing? Some of OOP's comments. Commenter. It seems Kim is useless here. You really need to go over Kim's head and nip this in the bud right now because Claire isn't taking no for an answer. OOP. Kim will help. I know she will. She's just waiting to see what her next step is. I have had to have her help with a work issue before. If I have problems with her the next time we work together, I'll let Kim loose. Could this be some weird way to flirt? It won't work with me. I like dick. LOL, and I have a boyfriend. LOL. Commenter, I'm not an expert, but isn't this an HR issue now? I mean, isn't that like harassment? OOP. It becomes an issue if I report it. My boss is seeing all of it so far and has said that she is watching the situation and will intervene if it keeps going. I'm off tomorrow, so I won't see her for a couple of days. Commenter, she wants to show off how different and edgy she is by having a man of honor. She may also admire your organizing skills and get it done demeanor and thinks you'll throw her great wedding-related parties. OOP. I'm a bad gay guy friend. I'm organized when it comes to a lot of things. But planning a wedding is something I've never done and really don't want to learn to do. If I were to ever get married, it's midnight under a full moon at the beach with a few friends and a cookout the next day. LOL. Commenter, okay, this is going to sound weird, but since she's advertising that it's a non-traditional wedding, is it possible she's after you for a specific reason? Are you gay or part of a racial minority? It's possible she wants her wedding to look super diverse for Instagram reasons, and maybe she's after you for a specific vibe in the pictures. Regardless of the reason, NTA. OOP. I don't know her background. Yes, I am gay, and the entire department knows it because I was dating a former nurse, and we broke up. Now I'm dating someone from a different department, and it's all known. All she said was it was a less than traditional wedding, and it would be okay. Yesterday, K&L asked if I was afraid of something about it, maybe if I had to wear a dress. I said I would fucking rock the dress. I might need a push-up to fill out the front of a dress if it's strapless. LOL. But I just don't want anything to do with it. I have no interest. My life is crazy enough right now. Planning a wedding would go from crazy to insane. Update Post 1, October 30th, 2024, next day. Hey everyone. First, I apologize. I never thought this was going to go as crazy as it did. I want all of you to know I read all of your responses and responded to as many as I was able to. Thank you all for your amazing insights and comments. Many that made me laugh, which I needed. I have been sick and that really helped to cheer me up. I had to meet with my lawyer today regarding family issues. Editor's note, OOP goes into detail about those issues in other posts on his profile, but they weren't relevant here, so I didn't include them. My neighbor, best friend, co-worker, Laura, took me. I really felt awful, and driving wasn't a good idea. We were talking about this on the way, and we both were asking a lot of the same questions that all you were asking. The big one was that we were asking about the circumstances of her transfer. She went from Med-Surg 4W to the ER. That is a huge change. I have to work tomorrow, so we will see what happens. But Laura and I are going to ask Kim about the transfer and raise a couple of other concerns. After I got home from the meeting with my lawyer, I slept for the rest of the day. Many of you asked about if Claire and I hang out outside of work. The answer is no. I really don't know anything about her. I have helped her a few times with patients and different things. But our relationship is 100% purely work-related. That was why I was so surprised that she asked me to do this. That is why I was so surprised that she asked me about being the man of honor. I have a very small friend base, and in all honesty, I like to keep it that way. I really have no interest in being a part of this. I'm not a wedding person. After reading so many Bridezilla stories and hearing about over-the-top weddings, they have become a huge turnoff to me, spending tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars with insane, unrealistic demands that turn people against each other. Why? I would rather use that money and spend that time planning my next trip or vacation. Many people said that I was being used as a token or prop in a wedding or a gay best friend. I never really thought about it. I admit that I'm out and proud, but I'm not going to just pretend to be someone's friend just so they can fulfill some kind of fetish they have for wanting to have a gay best friend or some kind of status she feels the need to fulfill. It takes me a lot to get offended, but if this were actually the case, then I would really be rather offended. I was not put on the face of the earth to be someone's play toy. A lot of people have said that maybe she doesn't have a boyfriend. She does. She has brought him in before. If she has any insecurity, I don't understand it. She is attractive, smart, and nosy stuff, so I'm at a loss as to why she is acting like this. A lot of people say go to HR. I'm starting that process with my boss, Kim. She is completely aware of the situation being with us when all this happened. She has told me that she is watching the situation and will jump in if I need her to. I trust her completely. While Kim and HR can control the situation from the hospital, they can't control the situation from a personal level if she were to maybe follow me home or a situation like that. So I think that covers it all. I wish I could say this is over. But most likely there is more to come. Set your update me. Come on. Commenter about that name. OOP's username. You're not just an RN, because there's nothing just about RNs or other nurses. You folks, regardless of gender, do the medical heavy lifting, and when we can't get a straight, sorry, answer from the oh-so-busy MDs, the nurses provide the no-shit information. OOP. My name is kind of an ongoing running inside joke. I'm told at least once a day or so from a patient that I'm just a nurse. One day I heard it 3 times. I don't really take offense to this, and in a joking way I repeated what the patient said and my boss Kim jumped my case about. That's not the case at all. I love my job. It's a huge part of me and who I am. It's a part of my identity. Commenter. I'm curious about her list of demands or responsibilities. Like, did she really think you would change your mind now that you had all this BS work to do and money to spend? OOP. It pretty much had me planning the whole thing. She wanted me to plan the bridal shower, the bachelorette party, coordinate dress shopping and fittings, make sure everyone was having fun with the whole thing. Just to name a few. Commenter. OP. What the ever-loving fresh creepy hell is this? Lmao. OP. I had no idea what the ever-loving fresh creepy bell was from something. It's just something I have always said. Mini update in comments. October 31st, 2024. Next day. I'll be posting an update in a day or two. Things came to a head today and it was pretty much just as everyone was saying. I need to take some time to understand everything that happened today. I also have a meeting scheduled Monday with the director of nursing at my hospital, which should bring closure. I hope. Update post, November 2nd, 2024. 3 days from previous post, 4 from OG post. This intro is going to be long, but I'm telling you about this for a reason, and later in this update it will make sense. I'm hoping this will be done, and that this will be the last of this whole situation. I was born into a family where I was referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with. I lived in the shadows of my sister, who was the child my parents wanted. They wanted one child, which was a girl. That way Dad had his daddy girl and Mom had mommy little princess. Then I came along. Keep in mind that I'm 23, so back then my parents had options but chose to not use any of those options. So instead, my parents raised my sister, and I was raised by a nanny who even to this day is one of the biggest influences in my life, and I am so grateful for her. She helped me with so much. I finally realized that all these years later that by being referred to as an issue that needed to be dealt with, that they stripped me of my humanity and individuality and self-worth as a person. I think that's why I've worked so hard to establish myself in my career and in my life. As a way to become a person again, and not just be that issue that needed to be dealt with. This past Thursday, things came to a head with the bridezilla known as Claire, and the truth came out. My best friend Laura has been sticking close to me when we worked together if Claire was to start something. We weren't sure if she was going to leave it alone or start up again. I was really hoping that it was done, but she had to try once again. I've been sick and I had a busy morning, so I really just wanted a few minutes to go to the bathroom, grab a quick snack, and maybe breath. Claire came up and had her list and asked if I had a few minutes to talk about the wedding planning. I looked at her and told her again no, that I was not interested in being part of her wedding, and that I was not going to help in any way, and she needed to drop the subject and leave me alone. Again, she went into the who thing of how I was going to do this and how much fun it was going to be. Here we go with that line all of you loved the first time. Why in the ever-loving, fresh, creepy hell is it so important for me to be your man of honor? I'm not interested, and I'm not doing it. It is as exactly as pretty much all of you told me it would be. She was just planning on using me as a token or a play toy. She took all of the fucked-up gay stereotypes that are out in society and put them into one sentence. What modern liberal woman isn't going to have a gay bestie on her arm for special events? I felt everything in my stomach move, and a wave of nausea come over me, and I felt like I couldn't get to the bathroom fast enough. This pissed Laura off to no end. Laura is really kinda like the overprotective sister that I wish I would have had, and took Claire off to visit our boss Kim and laid it all out. Everything that was said. While I wasn't in on that conversation, Laura and Kim filled me in on what was said. Kim came to check on me, and I was still hiding in the bathroom. She knocked on the door and asked if she could come in. I asked her for a bottle of water first. While I was waiting, I realized two things. I realized why I chose to not hang out with her, and why I didn't like her. I couldn't figure out why I didn't like her, just that there was something that gave me the heebie-jeebies. But I realized that I didn't like her because she is a different version of my sister. While Claire is educated and employed, she doesn't care about other people and their feelings. She is like my sister, in the sense that if she wants something bad enough, she will figure out how to get it. The second thing I realized was that she did exactly what my parents did to me. She completely dehumanized me and reduced me to an entity. Just kind of turned me into a token or a thing for her. I think the word that best describes it is, I'm must a play toy. What really gets me is that just like my sister Claire doesn't think she did anything wrong and I'm being too sensitive and a delicate snowflake. The next day an emergency meeting was held at work, and Claire is being suspended pending investigation, and a new transfer is being looked into. Kim made the request for her to be terminated. The director of emergency nursing said this was a last resort, but she was going to be looking into options which could be sending her to a new hospital or facility. This didn't go over well with me. I asked what would happen if she did the exact same thing to someone different. She didn't really give me an answer, but she said she still needs to look into a few things, and at this point she is suspended. Anyway, here it is. I'm still pretty sick and had to work this weekend. If I can, I'll respond. I want to thank everyone for all the amazing support. I am going back to my lawyer to see if he can figure out how to send her a cease and desist letter to make sure she doesn't contact me. I'm heading to bed. Have a good night. Asterisk. Asterisk. Edit. Asterisk. Asterisk. I keep forgetting to thank my boyfriend. He has been with me on this, but more in the background. First when we were laughing about it, but when everything Thursday happened, he was there as well. Elle was able to get him away from his unit for a little bit, for the it-will-be-okay boyfriend hug. He stayed the night with me a couple of nights as well, also helping with me being sick. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have such a great support. OP's comments. Commenter. What if she targets a vulnerable gay patient next? She's a danger and a liability for your employers to be sued. WOP, thank you for this response. I just texted Kim and asked her about this. She said she was trying to get her fired, and she is hoping this will help the purpose. New update post, November 9th, 2024, 1 week later. Hi everyone. First, I apologize for not responding sooner. I have always tried to do what I can to stay engaged with all of you and to respond as often as possible. Truth of the matter is that I hit a brick wall. Between everything with my parents, being sick, and then the bridezilla, I just kinda lost all my motivation to keep the conversation going. But I will say this. I read all of your comments, every one of them, and there are not enough words in any language to say thank you for all the amazing support, feedback, and suggestions. I am truly grateful for everything all of you brought to the table. I went back to my lawyer the other day and told him everything. I told him I only had her name, but I did not have her address, and since he has resources that I don't, I wanted him to find her and send her a cease and desist letter to not contact me. He was looking into this. The good news: Claire has been terminated. While I am not able to talk about all of the details, I can say that this goes a lot deeper than what she did to me, and after Kim did some digging, it brought out some information that could have put our hospital in a serious position. When this information was brought out in the open, it gave the Director of Emergency Nursing, DN, no choice but to terminate her. And it could put the DN in a serious position as well. Honestly, it has Kim, Laura, and myself looking for new jobs if this doesn't get properly corrected. None of us want to change hospitals, because then we have to start all over with seniority and benefits. It's a last resort, but it's still something to consider. I guess I can say that this is closed. At least I hope it is. I need to move on with my life. I doubt that Claire will be dumb enough to contact me. She is in enough trouble, and this would only make it worse. Again, I apologize for not being able to keep up with responding back to all of your comments, but again, I can assure you that I read all of them and value all of them as well. Thank you again for the amazing support. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter: can you give any further info about what you learned about her? Had she been moved as a result of something similar? Obviously, you have to be vague, but she sounds wackadoodle. OP: I honestly don't know much of her personal self, but some of the problems that we were having, come to find out, was things she was doing when it came to her job and what she was doing wrong. To a downvoted commenter, OOP gives more info. Kim, Laura, or myself had nothing to do with getting Claire fired. Claire got herself fired? I'm not sure what I should put on here, so I'll say this much. The question was brought up with Claire's transfer. She went from med-surg to ER. This never happens. The ER is such an intense experience that you have to start in ER at the beginning of your career. It's an 8-week training program while still doing orientation. With that being said, going from ER to med-surg happens often. So naturally, when someone comes from med-surg, it raises some questions and eyebrows. So basically what was found out was that Claire, in her own way, committed assault towards a patient and falsified the patient's charts. The med-surg director knew of this, as did the DN, and it was swept under the rug. We are learning that she may have done this to a patient in the ER as well. I was asked to be in a wedding and I had no interest in attending. I told her 3 times no in a polite manner, but she refused to take no for an answer. I finally forcefully told her no. Then she did what my parents have done to me for my entire life. She reduced me to a play toy and referred to me as her token gay bestie. This is hardly the case. We never hung out at any time, and I never wanted to. I have no kind of attachment to this woman, so when I say no, I'm saying no for a reason. Had she just accepted my responses, then most likely none of this would have ever happened. OOP gives a tiny bit more info, also added to the post on November 10, 2024. A 14-gauge needle, a 4 catheter, is the biggest that you can use. If they are ever used, it's mostly on EMS sites, and if it's being used, it's usually for rapid infusion, or the patient is shutting down, and you need to get fluids in a hurry, and can't get a vein with the standard size. Realistically, you should never have a reason to use a 14-gauge, and if you do, in my opinion, then you better have 3 other people with you to help do this. I hope in my lifetime I never have to use one. Also, the HIPAA notice. It's one of the first things you learn at the beginning of nursing school or med school. Basically, HIPAA is keeping a patient's privacy. What you can do is talk about the case as long as you don't reveal any information regarding the patient's identity. Also, opening a patient's file that you have no reason to open is also a violation of HIPAA as well. These are serious offenses and could result in loss of license. With that being said, take this information and do with it what you will and form your own opinion. Further info. Commenter: hypothetically, what would be a dumbass reason to try to use one in a hospital setting? OOP: perhaps the nurse was having a bad day and the patient was needy, or the nurse just didn't like the patient. Commenter. I can't find the 14G and HIPAA aspects of the story. OP. People asking what she did to get transferred from MedSurger to the ER, while I'm not sure what to put on here. I put these details here for you to piece together what could have happened. Story 4. My girlfriend hit my best friend wife final update. Original post. Posted December. So, I'll give some backstory here because there was already tension prior to this incident. I and my best friend have been best friends for over 20 years. We are now 28 and 27. He doesn't like sharing any of his business. This also applied when he started dating his now wife, 26. I didn't even know until they had officially become a couple, and I hadn't met her until after their 1-year anniversary. Best friend asked me to not tell my girlfriend about his because my girlfriend is pretty talkative and would have told others. I didn't see a problem with this, as my best friend and GF didn't really talk much, and me and my GF never talked about him. About 3 years ago, my best friend posted about his 3-year anniversary with his girlfriend, and all of our friends were shocked as none of them knew he was seeing anyone. My girlfriend got upset with me for knowing this information and keeping it a secret from her. We had a fight, but resolved it. I've suggested double dates since, but she has never been interested. She didn't even come to my best friend's wedding. Fast forward to now, our friend group always takes a vacation every year. My best friend's wife has never come, so all of our friends only met her at the wedding. This year, we were set to go skiing, some things happened, and we couldn't make it our original destination. So we ended up coming to my best friend's house. Everyone was excited because they get to see best friend's wife. While at the house, I got really sick from the food we had at the airport. I had stomach aches and the worst headache humanly possible. Best friend's wife is one of those herbal medicine people, so she made me some tea and did some trick with pulling my hair to relieve the headache, which worked instantly. She had made dinner. My girlfriend refused to eat and insisted she wasn't hungry. Cool. We complimented the cooking and went to sleep early. My girlfriend has refused to talk to best friend's wife and has been upset this entire trip. She has been mocking best friend's wife's accent, she's from Congo, and we talked about it and she finally stopped. The last pair of people we had been waiting for arrived super late last night. So today we hung out at the house and had dinner together. There have been a lot of attention on best friend's wife as no one really knows her. My girlfriend got angry and started mocking her accent in front of everyone. Best friend glared at me and it got really awkward. I spoke with GF outside and she started crying really loud and backed on some plant stand and accidentally knocked it over, which made a noise. Best friend's wife came to check up, and before I knew it, my girlfriend punched her face and she started crying. My best friend came to this and now wants my girlfriend gone in the morning. With the holidays, no nice hotels near us are available. GF doesn't care and is sleeping on the couch. I've apologized to my friend and his wife several times, but I'm completely pissed at my girlfriend. She doesn't normally act like this. She hasn't been clear on her feelings or thoughts leading up to now. This is definitely going to leave a dent in my friendship. I don't know what more to do here. Edit. For everyone saying there is more to the story, no, there really isn't. This is as much I know. That's why I'm really clueless about what to do here. Also, the reason we didn't leave immediately last night is because we drove up here with 2 other people. Wouldn't be fair to them. I'll address everything else later. Just needed some input. Relevant comment. Commentor. Are you sure your BF and your girl didn't knock boots? 'Cause her anger is a lot. OP. I thought the same, but it didn't make sense since there hasn't been any time where they spoke or spent any time alone. Friend's wife has been clinging to her husband the whole time. They wouldn't have had any moments. Commentor. The fact your entire social group didn't know they were dating until 3 years in, and only met her at the wedding is just fucking weird. If you hid that from your GF for 3 years, she is probably wondering what else you are hiding. But her actions are not okay, and you will likely have to either pick your GF or friend, as he will never allow your GF around his wife again. OP. Our friend group is more so. My friend group and I just bring him around. He talks, but he just doesn't share anything personal. Not to mention we live in different states. And me and my girlfriend don't talk about him. I hope it doesn't come to that. Commentor. Your girlfriend is an abusive bully. Why are you with her? OP. We're not together anymore. Update 1. Posted on the 24th of December. I went to wake her up in the morning, but she was already up and ready and packed. I tried talking to her, and she refused. I went back upstairs to wake up my friend before we left. He demanded an explanation on the violence. GF just started crying that we were ganging up on her. Friend told her if she didn't explain, then he'd call the police. They went back and forth, and the friends that were in the downstairs guest room came out. So we ended up leaving to not cause more commotion and wake up his wife. She didn't say anything to anyone and got in the car. The whole time she refused to talk to me, even at the hotel. I kept asking her what happened. I went to shower, and when I came back out, she left. I checked her location, and she was driving. I called, kept declining my calls, then she texted me she wanted space. My texts haven't been going through. I haven't really thought about the whole thing since and have just been in my room. Friend came to pick me up this morning. I feel awful being here. Wife's face definitely bruised. And now I have to sit here and look at her, even though she's been nothing but nice to me, and I'm the cause of it. The rest of the trip is canceled. No one really wants to go anymore. 2 of our friends went home, and the rest have been here trying to teach my friend's wife how to fight. I know a lot of people said that she may have had feelings towards my friend. I haven't found anything to support that. I went through her iPad that's linked to her phone. I did find pictures of my friend that was zoomed into, but I feel like that's not enough, especially since at a point one of her friends used to be interested in my friend, so the pictures were probably to send to her friend. Other than that, nothing. If there is feelings involved, it would be one-sided. My friend isn't exactly the biggest fan of my girlfriend. Some background on their relationship. When we started dating, they met once at a restaurant. And then any time after that was through me on the phone, so if I was OTP with friend and girlfriend was there, she'd say hi and vice versa. They don't even have each other's numbers, not to mention we live in different states. And friend was a virgin before he met his wife. Any time after that, they don't really spend time alone if I'm not around. She's always with her friend. A few months into our relationship where she hadn't really known my friend much, my friend came to my house because he had suspected that his cancer came back and wasn't great about it. He talked about it me while my girlfriend was there. She, wanting to help, told our friends about it so they can support him. And it turned into this huge thing, and friend was not happy about it. After that, he always made sure if it was really personal to him, for me to not tell my girlfriend. If it was up to my friend, he would never talk to anyone. He has warmed up and gotten better about it over the years that we've been friends. I promise this man isn't hiding his wife. He is the most proud man when it comes to his wife. She has been to every single one of our work events. Even when she couldn't physically be there, he'd have her on FT to see what was going on. He used to say, "My girlfriend," any chance he gets. He literally said that the reason he married her was because wife was shorter than girlfriend. He is one of those guys that will "my wife" TF out of you. He's naturally a corny person. I mean, he says "I love you" every time before getting off the phone, but after his wife, he's much cornier now. He isn't a social media person altogether, but posts yearly to wish people happy holidays or birthdays. He specifically didn't want our friends to know about his girl because they can be a bit invasive about these things. We like to joke around sometimes. There has been instances where pranks were done on couples as well that went too far for him and more. His wife doesn't curse, drink, or smoke, and she's a bit of a prude. All of which our friends are opposed to, so bringing her around them wouldn't have been ideal anyway. OP also adds a bunch of screenshots of a conversation between him and the best friend. The conversation. OP. How is wife's name? Best friend. She's finally sleeping. Punch wasn't really bad. I think it's just everything else that's been going on that made it all really overwhelming. OP? I'm really sorry. IDKY, GFS name been acting like this. Best friend. She hasn't offered any explanation? OP. Nope. Refused to talk or even stay in the room. She's downstairs. Best friend. Make sure she's not trying to break anything else downstairs. I really do mean it. I want her home in the morning. I don't want wife's name seeing. OP. Yeah, no, we're going to a hotel and location name. They're going to let us check in early. We'll stay there while I figure things out with GFS name. Best friend. Are you still going to location name? OP. IDK. You? Best friend. No, I'm going to stay with wife's name. I want to make sure her face doesn't swell or bruise. I don't need her upset or stressed right now. OP. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. Best friend. No, you're fine. I've met GFS name. I know there wasn't really anything that could have been done. I promise I won't hold it against you. GFS name, on the other hand. She's charging that knife taser you got her so... OP. Fuck. Best friend, I love you. Take care of this. I'm going to sleep. You try and get some sleep to... OP. Yeah, I will. Best friend, wake me up before you go. OP. All right. Update 2-ish. For those it may concern, I promise I love my friend. Posted on the 26th of December. The conversations. OP. I love you. Best friend. Responds with a blushing Patrick gif. OP. What picture should I post? Attaches pictures of himself under this text. Best friend. Wow, you're sexy. OP. Thank you, Daddy. Best friend. Stop it. Best friend. Good morning, sunshine. The sky is awake, so I'm awake, so we have to... OP blurs the rest of the text. The best friend also sends a, the sky is awake, so I'm awake. GIF of Anna from Frozen. OP. Fine, I'm coming. Love you. Best friend. Awesome. Love you. Best friend. You make half of the pie. OP. Whoa, half? Who's the other half? Best friend. My AMU and ABU and OFC rice. OP. Where is wife's name? Best friend. She's the pan holding it together and the oven that bakes it to perfection. The whipped cream and the knife to cut the slices and plates to hold the slices. OP also added under the pictures. Despite how corny he can get, this is within the last 2 weeks. This entire week's he's seen me, so it's mostly last week. I deal with worse on the phone, but I do always tell him I love him. I know a lot of people saw me not say it back on the last post, but I promise I do. Newest and final update. Posted on 23 days March. This is the last post, hopefully. Sorry for late update, I've been pretty occupied, and I tried posting recently with some pictures, but my post was taken down and I wasn't able to post. But this whole thing was a huge misunderstanding. About 2 after I had been back at my friend's house, she responded to my messages and wanted to talk. At the time I was really upset, so I called her, and we ended exchanging some awful words to each other. That night she called my friend in front of me and was crying, "We don't deserve this," and etc., which had us both confused until she explained to him that his wife was pregnant by me, which is not the case. Side note. There is one part of the story I didn't mention, because I didn't think it was relevant to the story, and it was also very private. Some days before trip, my friend's wife called me about finding out she was pregnant. She wanted to surprise her husband during New Year's and basically needed my help since her friend wasn't able to come. While I was there, we did take a moment and she raised her concerns with me as she was getting nervous about the announcement. We were in private and hadn't thought much about this after. I did find out, however, my girlfriend heard us and thought the wife was pregnant by me. His wife was sleeping at the time of the call, so I tried telling them that wasn't the case. He went through her phone and found threads and threads of messages she's had with her mom and best friend, and including me. Starting from when she found out, which we hadn't seen each in months. I ended up going to pick her up so we could talk some more. We talked for some time where she revealed that she thought she was pregnant during the whole trip. She was too scared to get tested, so we stayed in a hotel that night and then got her tested next morning. Surely enough, she was pregnant. She has come back to apologize to my friend and his wife, and they were really understanding since it was due to a huge misunderstanding. We've been back since and have been trying to figure out everything. We aren't exactly ready to be back in the relationship since we both shared some really bad words to each other. It's been a lot past few months as her parents have discovered the pregnancy and want her to terminate. I have offered to marry her since they're saying they're traditional, but that hasn't worked. For now, they're no contact, and that has taken up some of the stress. We are both working out our relationship still, but we are excited about our son. I can't go through all the comments again since there were a lot, but I can answer questions if there are any confusions. Edit. I'm not making any excuses for her. I'm simply telling you guys the explanation that a lot of you have been wanting. I suggested marriage to appease her parents as they were making some threats that would ruin girlfriend's life, and despite how she's acted recently, we were together for 7 years, and I couldn't fathom her life being ruined that she worked hard for, especially being pregnant with our child. Our feelings aren't, nor are we looking to get into a relationship, but we do have some kind of relationship for our child. If my friends wanted to press charges against her, I would be in support because if someone else hit her, I would. But they haven't and have chosen to forgive while keeping a distance from as we were before the situation. I understand the situation is aggravating, and so a lot of you feel strongly. But let's try and remember, I am a person when you're leaving unnecessarily mean comments and sending death threats to my unborn child. I will no longer be responding nor posting further here. Thank you for those you have been supportive and suggestive, as that has been helpful. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. Relevant comment. Commentor. My ex hit my good pregnant friend and me. We broke up and said awful things to each other, but I offered to marry her due to her crazy parents. Yikes. OP. Well, I offered to marry because her parents were trying to force her into an abortion, and neither one of us want to terminate. But it was more so if they can approve, then they wouldn't go through with their threats of her finance, which were important to her. And despite how she has acted towards me, we've been together for 7 years and she's been nothing but amazing to me, and I couldn't not try to help her. Commentor. She needs major therapy, and so do you. You need to realize she will be physical with you at some point. Being pregnant isn't an excuse. Also, you're sweeping the fact your wife knowingly attacked a pregnant woman. She is lucky nothing worse happens to your wife's friend. OP. I agree. I don't agree with her actions, but we are expecting, and we are trying to come to some relationship since we will have a child together. We both do not intend on getting back together, but we had been together for 7 years, so I was willing to help her, i.e. the marriage suggestion, since they are holding a lot over her financially. Commentor. Has she actually proven she is pregnant, or is she just saying that so you won't leave her? OP. We took the test together. Prior to, she only speculated that she might be, but we took it together and it confirmed. Commentor. Your girlfriend attacking another pregnant woman while being pregnant is not an excuse and reflects the fact that she uses violence to solve major issues. Abusive people can hide their real selves for years before that side emerges, and it seriously looks like that is the case here. If my best friend's boyfriend-girlfriend attacked my spouse and they decided to stay with that person, I would go NC with them in a heartbeat. What if they decided to attack them again? Poison? It's just dangerous as hell to be around that person. Especially if my spouse was pregnant? Batif. OP. I do not excuse her behaviors. Everyone, including myself, wanted to know why, and now we do. Not saying it is an excuse, but it is an explanation on why. Commentor. Leave her and co-parent with very detailed notes on her behavior, especially what happened now. I bet if you look back, you'll see a pattern. OP. We aren't together. Story 5. I, 30M, think my fiancé's 27F cousin's 34F child is mine. Original post, Deck 07, 2022. My fiancée Sarah and I have been together for 3 years. She's actually my first serious GF since middle school. I will honestly admit I've been a complete piece of shit with women for most of my teens and 20s and pretty much used women. I'm saying all this to explain how promiscuous I was in the past. Sarah knows about my past and she's grown to accept it. We met at work and she hated me because she saw right through me, and after pursuing her for close to a year, she finally agreed to a date, and the rest is history. We've been living together for 2 years now, and I've grown incredibly close to her parents too, and she also loves my family. Past 3 years have been the best of my life, and I'm so excited to spend the rest of my life with her. This weekend, her cousin and her family are in town. She's really close with her cousin Lauren. Miracle I haven't met her yet. I was always busy for one reason or another, the few times she's visited in the last 3 years. So I finally met Lauren and her husband for dinner at Sarah's parents' place. She immediately stares at me a bit wide-eyed, and I can't help but think she looks familiar. We're all being introduced to each other, and Lauren, for the most part, seems to be acting normally, but she's still staring at me whenever she can. Sarah's parents then come in with Lauren's little boy, who's 5 years old. I'm looking at this kid and Lauren, and the only thing I can think of is that this boy looks like a carbon copy of me at his age with some Lauren mixed in. I'm suddenly starting to remember that I took Lauren home from a bar close to 6 years ago, and I also remember convincing her to not use protection after I showed her my blood work. I'm just a sweaty, nervous mess for the rest of dinner, and I think Lauren realizes from how she looked at me and the boy that maybe I realize too. And an even more fucked up part, I think Lauren was visiting Sarah the weekend I took her home. They probably had a girls' night out that weekend with their friends, and I took Lauren home. So Sarah was probably at the same bar that night. Sarah asked me if I was okay and just told her I wasn't feeling well. I didn't go to work yesterday and today and just took sick days. IDK, what the fuck to do? Lauren obviously isn't saying anything. I have no clue if she was married at the time, and I don't want to ask Sarah because I don't want her getting suspicious about me asking. I don't even know how I feel about possibly being a father. I'm 95% sure this kid is mine. Looked nothing like the husband. Do I just shut up? I never cheated on Sarah, obviously, but she knows how much of a player I was, and it took her a while to get past my number. I don't know how she'd react if she knows I knocked up her cousin years before knowing her. This is vain and superficial about Sarah, and I love her to death, but she absolutely hates if something is considered trashy or low class. I honestly think it's possible she'd leave me if I knocked up her cousin. I can't lose her. She's literally the best thing that's ever happened to me. Relevant comments from OP. OP. My only goal is keeping Sarah. Honestly, in my state of mind the last few days, I don't care about anything else. My ideal situation is Sarah doesn't leave me. That's all that matters, and I'll do anything to make sure she stays. I don't know how I feel about the kid. He seemed happy with his parents. They live several states away. Sarah wants kids in the future, maybe 3, 4 years. Searched Sarah's calendar for the kid's birthday and the timing works out. Fuck. Relevant comment? Here by U1 Crew 3394. I'm guessing a lot of the commenters on this are men. I'm a 52-yo woman. The #1 most important thing in a relationship for me, and for all of the women I know, is trust. Honesty, trust, and having each other's backs. This is why women sometimes can't forgive cheating. It's not the sex, it's the breach of trust. If you were my boyfriend-husband, I would want you to put me first before Lauren, meaning literally, come to me first. Like, I have to tell you something that's really stressing me out. You know how I told you I had a lot of irresponsible drunken sex a few years ago? When I met Lauren the other night, she looked really familiar. I am so ashamed to tell you this, but I am pretty sure I hooked up with her in of. I'm not sure if she recognized me, but I think she might have. I felt like she was looking at me strangely. I was so stressed out about it, I lied to you and said I felt sick. Well, that wasn't really a lie because I wanted to puke, and I'm still completely sick about this. I can't bear to lose you, but I can't lie to you and not tell you about this. Please help me figure this out, what I should do. Then let her go through all the stages of figuring this out with you. Let her say, OMG, is that your kid, while you put your face in your hands and moan. If you do what all these guys are suggesting, and try to do damage control and go talk to Lauren behind your GF's back, you are completely fucked. It's not the crime, it's the cover-up. If you talk to Lauren, figure out you are the bio father, and then drop the whole story on your GF, there is no way in hell she will ever believe that you just figured this out now. She will feel doubtful about what you knew when you knew it, how you feel about Lauren, when you last slept with Lauren, etc., etc. If you want a life with Sarah, go to Sarah and ask for her help. If she dumps you, she is only dumping you for something you already told her about, your past behavior, and if she got over it once, she might even get over it again. Right now, you are in the most forgivable, least guilty position possible. You have never lied to Sarah about your past, and you aren't going to start now. You did not turn your back on your child or the mother of your child. You did not know. If this kid was your baby, you weren't informed at the time. If Sarah and Lauren are close, and Lauren did have a pregnancy and conceal it from the bio father, Sarah may know all about it, and may be aware the bio father wasn't notified. Oscar Wilde once said, "Ignorance is like a delicate flower. Touch it and the bloom is off." Women are insanely perceptive of micro-expressions on their partner's face. If you find out anything and hide it from her for 24 hours while you think about it, she will already feel in her bones you are lying and don't trust her. She is probably still wondering WTF was going on with you at the party. If you do anything else besides go to Sarah first, you are most likely done for. Trust that your partner can love you enough to get through this with you. Tell her ASAP before Lauren comes forward and says something. If by any chance Lauren is passing your bio kid off as her husband's bio kid, she may try taking some defensive actions, who knows what. Or maybe Lauren will tell your GF it's you, and that's why you acted sick at the party. OMG. Don't roll the dice. Go to her, throw yourself on her mercy and ask for her help. Like others have said, if you and this kid share some DNA, the chance of him figuring this out in your lifetime is extremely high. Rip the Band-Aid off and deal with it now. Update Deck 07 2022. After 3 days of staying at home and feeling sick to my stomach with nervousness about this, I finally told Sarah late last night after my last post. Thank you so much, you own crew 3394, because that post gave me the push to spill my guts. As embarrassing as it is, I cried from beginning to end telling Sarah, and pretty much told her I don't want to live without her. She held my hands in bed and patiently listened about how I recognized Lauren, remembered our night, and how seeing that kid mentally broke me because I saw my future with Sarah jeopardized as soon as I saw him. She told me she's upset I didn't tell her as soon as we left her parents' place and to never keep something like this from her again. But she understood I was scared. She said she's not leaving me because I never betrayed her in the last 3 years we've been together, and we'll figure this out too. And she said she'll reach out to Lauren herself and figure out what's going on because she's been with her husband for 10 years now, and if she's my ONS from years ago, she definitely cheated. We then had an even more uncomfortable about the type of things I've done in my past and wanted to know if there's any more surprises she needs to be ready for. Said she knows I was promiscuous and a bit of a reckless idiot, but we kind of swept everything under the rug when we got together because we both agreed we wanted a fresh start. And after this fiasco, that might have been a bad idea, so she wants to know everything in detail now, but we can have that talk another time. I don't feel great about this, but I'll deal with this hurdle when it comes up. Sarah has been home with me trying to get in touch with Lauren since morning, and has been getting completely stone-walled. Finally, Lauren texted her to, "Please just let it go." Sarah asked her again if they could just have a quick chat, or even if text is okay, but Lauren insisted to just, "Let it go, please." I'm guessing Lauren realized I told Sarah everything. We don't know how to proceed from here on out. We're deciding to just respect her wishes and not pursue this further. Lauren also just changed her response to our wedding invite to a no-show. Sarah is kind of upset by this, but honestly, I'm fine with this outcome. We always planned to leave the U.S. in a few years anyway. I got a lot of messages asking me to just shut up, and I was honestly ready to go that route, but I think the worry was actually physically making me sick. Anyway, thanks everyone for the advice. Much appreciated. Relevant comment. Commenter? Now you are thinking about this correctly. What is best for everyone involved? You have competing moral imperatives here. The right of the father to know the truth and the well-being of the child. Not in the sense you are responsible for the kid, but in the sense that you know your choice will affect the kid. I do not know what is right to do here, but you are not wrong to think that the kid having a better life if you never say anything is a relevant consideration. Does it outweigh the husband's right to know? Not sure. But ignore everyone telling you this is such an obvious decision, because the father's right to know is clearly the only relevant factor, and he is that kid's father, although he would also have the right to stop being so if he found out the truth. The best-case scenario for the kid is that no one else ever finds out. Trying to achieve that best-case scenario is a reasonable option. OOP. Thank you for your post. This is how we're trying to look at it too. Terrible situation, but trying to make our decision with the kid's best interest in mind. Commenter. You will drop a nuclear bomb, and literally life-defining moment, on this kid if you ever bring this up to the husband. Don't listen to any of these posts telling you to do this. It's beyond selfish and moronic. In fact, it will cause a complete family implosion. and extended family implosion too, Sarah's parents will never look at you the same. Last thing you need is to expose all of this over a hunch you think this child is yours. Reddit seems really interested in you blowing up multiple families and a kid's life over a hunch. I'm going to break it down for you. You don't know that you're the father. You are just thinking you might be. In reality, you don't know that yet. This is 100% on Lauren. You did your part, Sarah now knows. There's no secrets between you, and she can use this information how she sees fit. Lauren's relationship with her child is her business. Maybe she feels she needs to find out. Maybe she doesn't. It's not your role to interject. You are not this kid's dad. You don't even know him. Reddit is giving you horrendous advice. Don't take it. Can you imagine if you brought this up to her husband? He leaves because he thinks you're telling the truth. Kid is shattered because dad isn't in his life anymore. Not to mention Sarah's family hates you for this. Only for it to come out later that you are not the father? OP, you did the right thing telling Sarah. Lauren wants to bury the hatchet, and if Sarah wants to do this as well, then let it be. Do not confront anyone over this. You don't have all the facts, even though you think you do. All you know right now is that Lauren cheated on her husband with you roughly 6 years ago. What you don't know is if that child is yours. Don't assume that you do. OP. This is how Sarah and I are seeing the situation too. Comments from OP. Comment 1. And honestly, maybe it's possible Lauren's husband knows she strayed and they moved past it and she doesn't want to revisit. She didn't really want to talk to us, so we don't know. I'm trying to move past this situation without hurting anyone. Comment 2. I agree the situation is messed up, and I would like to know if my partner ever cheated. But the fact of the matter is, this will likely destroy an otherwise happy family. Both Lauren and her husband are incredibly successful in their fields and live in an affluent area and can provide the best life for the kid. While Sarah and I are still building our careers and about to begin our own lives. And people have been asking whether I care about the kid. Yes, of course I do. I saw myself when I saw him, but I don't even know him. I'm okay with not being in his life, and if I'm the future he somehow finds out and decides to find me, we can deal with it then. But right now I'm fine staying at a distance and seeing him through Facebook pics and starting my life with Sarah. Hope that didn't come off as heartless, but I'm truly thinking about what's best for him. Edit. Just because it has come up a couple of times in the comments, here is OOP's explanation, re-blood work and BC. I didn't pressure her. I requested it and pulled up my phone and showed her my latest blood work. Medical labs email you your results these days. She said she was clean too, and that's it. Hugely irresponsible and stupid on my part. But I was a different person back then. Final update. Editor's note. The final update was posted after the original Boru, but never added. Thanks to you/minute_point_949 for finding the update. Final update January 5th, 2023. I've had literally dozens of people messaging me asking for an update. Sarah and Lauren have been texting since my last update. Mostly Lauren apologizing because she won't be coming to our wedding. She also sent us some wedding and Christmas gifts, which was very sweet of her. Sarah didn't really push her for answers, but left an open invitation to talk whenever Lauren felt comfortable. Few days before Christmas, Lauren FaceTimed Sarah and told her everything. Her and her husband were going through a rough patch in their wedding at the time. He had an emotional affair with a coworker and they were separated for a few weeks before reconciling. Lauren met me early on during the separation when we had our one-night stand. She told Sarah I'm the only one she ever hooked up with during this separation. Soon after she realized she was pregnant, she reconciled with her husband. They had been trying with no luck, so just decided to raise the child as their own. Lauren said she's told her husband, and it's caused some turmoil in their marriage, and they're working through it now. He knew about this nameless, faceless man, but seeing me in the flesh and knowing after the fact that I'm the one guy has been a bit traumatic for him, and he's feeling very insecure. So unfortunately, he never wants us to ever interact or be in the same room again. I was listening right out of view from the camera, but I couldn't help but ask Lauren if this means I can never see the boy. She just said she was sorry. She told Sarah she'll talk to her later, and that was it. They've still been texting, and it seems Lauren and her husband will be okay with some time. Now we have to always coordinate that we're not coming to family events at the same time. Sarah and Lauren have already made plans to meet themselves, though. As far as Sarah and I, we're doing okay. We had one pretty bad fight a few days after the last post went up. She wanted to know in excruciating detail everything about the type of guy I was before. Honestly, felt like a CIA interrogation at one point. She cried and told me she wished she fell in love with someone else, which hurt a lot. She apologized the next morning, and we've been doing a lot better now. I think we're stronger now, in fact, now that she knows everything. I'm also never ever doing that ancestry testing services all these companies do. I've also gotten a much better paying job that's fully remote. Sarah will talk with her boss to see how she can convert to full remote as well, which we think is possible. We might be leaving sooner than we thought. That's it. Thanks everyone that provided advice, especially after the first post. TLDR. Had a ONS with future fiancé's cousin resulting in her pregnancy. She wasn't cheating. Fiancé and I are okay. Her cousin and husband are working through it. I don't think I can ever see the child. We're going to move away. Story 6. Planning to ghost him after finding out he's cheating on me. Final update. March 4th, 2022. Found out my boyfriend was cheating a few weeks ago. Been spiraling since. Literally only running off of vengeance and pure disgust. I got this weird gut feeling and checked his phone while he was asleep. Those 20 minutes locked in the bathroom felt like years, and the shame keeps me from talking to anyone about it. I moved across the country to be with him, so I'm all alone. No friends or family here. He woke me up the next morning with kisses and breakfast and has been doing so a lot lately. Probably the guilt. He even bought me flowers for the first time ever, after me hinting at wanting them for years. He thought my quiet crying was out of happiness. He even brought up buying a house for us, something with enough space for potential future children. I'm still going through the motions. Making his breakfast and protein shake every day, packing his lunch, making sure dinner is almost ready when he comes home from the gym. What makes me the angriest is that I really genuinely thought he wouldn't do something like this. He watched his father cheat on his mother and father children out of their marriage, all while she struggled with infertility her entire life. My partner isn't her biological son, and never had her own. She dedicated her life to the two of them and passed away of ovarian cancer shortly before we met. Sometimes I think about whether she regretted staying with her husband or not. We have a small shrine in her honor, and something makes me look at and expect guidance. I love the man she raised and hate the one her husband did, but they're both him, and he's a grown-ass man more than capable of self-control, so I decided to walk away. Next week, my car will be picked up and shipped back home, and I got first-class tickets for me and my dog on his dime. He'll come back home from work, and everything I brought will be gone, along with me. The only thing I think I might regret is not somehow being able to see his reaction when he walks through the door and realizes what's going, LOL. Relevant comment. Future _ add 8,467. I'm sorry you're going through this. It's the hardest thing to let go. As hopeless as it can feel sometimes, it does get better. Take your time in the beginning, but I think it's therapeutic to confront him eventually. Ghosting doesn't provide closure for you. In my experience, confronting the problem, head-on, gave me a sense of closure. I try to take everything that happens as a life lesson. Good luck with everything. OP. I personally don't believe in closure. I got all that I needed when I realized he was untrustworthy. Odd_1_9972. Do you have access to his phone computer? Install a keylogger? Then you can not only see what he's saying to you, but to the other APs as well. I put a keylogger on my ex's phone computer when I caught him cheating. He was such a dumbass, and seeing the shit he was saying, the lies he was spewing, made me grateful I dropped his ass. I do, but I don't think it would make a difference for me. His entire relationships with the APs was lies. Everything from his name, age, college degree, occupation, city, height, and dick size. He even told one he was married and his wife was pregnant with twins. I almost had a heart attack thinking I was an AP too, and he had a family out there somewhere. Suspicious_bear. _6634. If he can go after you, you should probably leave a note or a sign that you're leaving him because of his cheating. Seeing that you up and left without a known reason, from his POV, might push him to follow you home. If he knows the reason, and knows that he has no chance in hell in getting you back, it might delay a possible confrontation. OP. You're right. I've been considering just leaving a sticky note with a list of all the different girls' names and the apartment key beside it. Simple and effective. Suspicious _bear _6634. Fuck multiple girls. Draw a little middle finger beside them while you're at it. And make sure there are little to no supplies, food, toiletries, cleaning stuff, left, and leave the house dirty so that he can appreciate how much you did for the asshole. 7 of them, to be precise. I'll have to rush and get out within a certain time frame, but I might just settle for shrimp in the curtain rods. He's really sensitive to smells LOL. I lied to my boyfriend every day and saved the money he gave me March 4th, 2022. Almost every day my boyfriend sends me money for lunch, gas, something. I thought he was just really kind. Turns out he was cheating, and giving me $$ made him feel less guilty, as though he didn't beg me to move across the country with him where I know no one. Once I found out, I wanted to immediately confront him, but was scared of the outcome since the apartment was only in his name, and again, I know no one here. Now I just save every dime of what he sends to be able to pay for the $3,000 moving fees to go back home without hurting my own pocket too much. Breaking my heart, destroying my ability to trust, and scaring me off from men I can handle, but messing with my finances? Nah, never. The transport company is coming next Wednesday to take my car, and my plane tickets for me and my dog have been bought. Gonna keep up my happy act and do the usual cooking of dinner and scrubbing his back and poof on Wednesday like I never knew him. It's the only form of revenge I could do that wouldn't haunt me. Good riddance. Edit. A few asked for details. There's 7+ other women. Everything he told them was a lie. Name, age, height, city, occupation, all of it. The only common denominator was that he bought us all the exact same lingerie set for his birthday in January, and specifically requested I hang it up in our closet where it's viewable. Forgiveness is not on the table. He'll be surprised, but I doubt he'll be hurt. Relevant comment? Purejones. I look forward to it. How did you find out if it's not too personal? OP. Woke up randomly in the middle of the night, and he's up to no good, was all I could think about. I sleep like a literal baby and never, ever wake up like that. Took his phone and locked myself in the bathroom while he was asleep, and found it all. Friendship breakups are so much worse than relationship breakups. March 5th, 2022. I'll be single again pretty soon, and I'm looking forward to it, but also not. Like, yay, I finally can cook when how I want to, and don't have to split chores and can do everything on my own my way. But that's the only good part. I've been on my own since I was 16, and I've turned out mostly fine. I have a paid-off house and car, cute dog, debt-free, and I'm finishing up my master's degree at 25. It could be worse, but I'm lonely. I'm not on speaking terms with my family and had a huge fallout with my lifelong friends a couple years ago. I haven't tried making friends since BC. Part of me hopes one day I can find a way to fix that friendship. Plus, I'm moving around so much that making friends is pointless. I'm not good at long-distance anything. I never prided myself on romantic relationships. Sure, they're cool, but a loving group of women was always where I found the most peace and understanding, and that's what I want the most. I guess I'm just going through things right now, and I really wish I had people I trust to talk to. Friend breakups hurt the most. Relevant comment? OP, when asked how she had a house at a young age. Yee! B. Neither. I lived with my friends and their parents until college started. Already had a scholarship. Just worked 3 jobs until I was 22 and lived frugally. Doofus broth. The maths for time and money aren't working out on this end, but there is also a lot of variable info that is missing. It took my 7 years to pay off my house, and I was contributing to it like it was an emergency. Qualifying for a home and paying it off in that amount of time without help seems nearly impossible. I'm so curious about the formula here. I need a lesson in finance from OP. When I broke it down on it, just doesn't seem possible except from a financial windfall counting even a frugal cost of living along with an accounting for taxes paid, etc. And that did not include the cost for transportation, medical, groceries, blah, blah, blah. OP. The house was a $70K foreclosure and is 4-bed/4-bath. I was a golf caddy, gentleman's club bartender, an occasional hostess, and notary signing agent, along with selling stationery items on Etsy. Also, my scholarships paid for quite a bit of my home in general. They never specified what kind of housing for them, just housing. I lived in one room and rented out the other 3. Doofusbrot, that's the info I was looking for. Thanks you, that is very smart. Good going, good luck with your situation. So interested how he reacts to your departure. My current relationship has made me realize the thin line between love and hate. March 9th, 2022. I found out my boyfriend of almost 4 years was cheating. We've lived together for 2 years and I'm leaving him tomorrow. He just doesn't know yet, and won't until after I'm gone. As mad as I am, as betrayed as I feel, I still love him. All I really want is to wake up tomorrow and this all be a nightmare. I don't enjoy this slice of reality. That the person I loved the most has looked me in my eye and lied to me for who knows how long. And every time I do it, I'm left wondering how many times he did it. How many times did he wine, dine, and fuck other women and come home to me? How many times have I been the stupid girlfriend who trusted her boyfriend blindly? How many times have I been some woman's laughingstock? Did he fuck us back to back? Did his friends know? Did they look me in my fucking eye and really not say anything? Did he love them? How many times did he tell me he loved me and meant it? When did he stop meaning it? Did he ever even mean it the first time? I'm not a master manipulator, unlike him. I'm just composed because I've never had any other choice. Emotions got you beat or worse when it came to my parents, and I'm more than aware I have a shitload of trauma to unpack, but I can't. Not in the self-pity, woe is me, it's too hard, but no. I probably just can't. Therapists here are wildly westernized, and once I start with the short list, they'll probably just charge me double, maybe triple. And the last time I tried, he kept trying to convince me I enjoyed my own assault. Maybe I got cheated on because I'm emotionally inept. My intimacy levels are quite limited. The few times he asked about my childhood, I either A, brushed him off, or B, told him one thing I thought wasn't that bad, and he was so shocked I held out on the actually bad parts. And that's where the hate comes in. He knows what it's like to grow up feeling unwanted. He knows what it's like to lose your parents young. He knows what it's like to feel like your entire life has been horrible event after horrible event. But he still did this to me, and I don't get how he could. I could never cheat on anyone, let alone someone who shared such personal things with me. I haven't so much as made eye contact with another man since we met. Other people were just other people, and we were us. I don't know. I just don't see being able to date again. I had deep-seated trust issues long before this, and growing old by myself with 30 cats genuinely sounds nice. Hell, great even. At least I won't always be wondering when the betrayal will come. Update. Leaving partner of 4 YRs after finding out he was cheating March 10th, 2022, transport company came and picked up my car. Sold whatever big furniture I brought for low prices. Took his dog to the park and played with him a bit. Got him a dog cupcake and took him back to the apartment. Movers started coming for the rest of my stuff, and I hadn't prepared for our property manager thinking we were both moving out and we hadn't given them the required vacancy notice. She came to talk to me right as my Uber was coming, and I told her what was going. Unfortunately, they had already called him BC, only his name on the lease. He's called and texted me a few times, but I haven't replied. His workday won't be over for a couple of more hours. I left my apartment keys, and anything he's ever bought for me that I hadn't sold already. Didn't feel like taking that stuff with me. While packing, I remembered we bought a pet camera that shoots treats on the entertainment center and turned it back on. I promised myself I'll disconnect from it by midnight tomorrow, but I have my own predictions about how he'll react, and I just gotta know for sure. Yeah, it's fucked up. Sue me LOL. I actually forgot to leave a note and was running out of time before my Uber came and just left the lingerie set he was so obsessed with on the bed. He'll figure it out eventually. Or not. I'm at the airport now with my dog and just waiting on my flight. I wish I could say that I feel free, but I don't. Just tired. Thank you all for the well wishes, and thank you more to all of the other women who reached out with similar stories. I think I might have caved and stayed if you all hadn't. Relevant comment. Suspicious_bear_6634. What did he say on the text when they informed him that things were being moved out? Asterisk OP. Just that he got a call from property management and asked if I ordered something big and if anything was going on. Pet cam update, March 14th, 2022. Update. I turned it on for about 10 minutes after I got back to my home and unpacked. He wasn't there, but everything was a mess. There was a hole in the wall, furniture flipped over, papers everywhere, the kitchen looked like a tornado went through it. I deleted all of my other social media accounts but didn't block his number. The first 2 days he called me over 200 times. Lots of novel-ass text messages and him admitting to some shit I didn't even know about yet. Quite a few calls from his dad and friends too. I didn't reply to any of them. Last update found. Thanks to you, Karma Catcree, for finding this update. Last update October 17th, 2022. Even though I have seen messages asking about an update, I didn't think anyone actually wanted one. Life just came full circle, and I saw my posts on my TikTok for you, literally page. Just a few things. I mentioned in a comment that I think his dad was the reason his mom passed. Not in the straight-up Kaler way, but the I cheated so much and gave my wife an STD that lead to her getting HPV, and since I didn't allow her to get medical treatment, she ended up infertile with cervical cancer ***. I misspoke and said ovarian and died way. Of course, no one will ever know that for sure, but I doubt it helped any. My ex had always claimed he did not respect his father, he is their bio-nephew, not son, as a man due to it. When I found out he was cheating, forgiving him was never an option, because I have no interest in following in his mom's footsteps. I did not have any signs, besides that a few months in he locked down his social media BC, he didn't want to get passed up on a promotion due to politics. I did ghost everyone we mutually knew for a month or two until I figured out who I could and couldn't trust to not just tell him my new social's phone number, address. I never blocked his number, but I never replied to any texts or calls. They eventually died out 2 or so months later. He ended up finding out anyway, and I moved again. Out of state this time. At the last place, he showed up at 7 a.m., and I saw him on my Ring doorbell looking around and showing my photo to people. One of my dumbass neighbors confirmed I lived there, down to my dog's name, and he kept coming every day after that. I kept finder letters addressed to me that were obviously from him. They said a lot of things I didn't know, but nothing that could ever make me move past what he did. I moved before I ever saw him face to face. A few of his friends reached out after my second move telling me about some erratic behavior of his going on, but I ignored them too. Not my man, not my problem. I've been asked on some dates, but no thanks. I'm too fragile and trusting for the fucked up morals some of these men have. There's nothing about being in a relationship I miss. I know I'm probably supposed to say that I hope he gets the help he needs and finds happiness, but I don't. I'll have lifelong trauma from what he did, so at the least he can have lifelong regrets. Most importantly, I found a great group of women that feel like family and always are there for me. I'm happier than I've been in years. I'm just thankful I got out before I got pregnant or married and was tied to him forever. I forget he exists most days now, and I didn't even think it was possible. I hope this suffices. Thank you, Redditors. Edit. I did get tested again and did test positive for trick, which I did not know existed beforehand. All cleared up now, though. I never did reach out to the other women, mostly because they used our relationship to bond. They all knew he had a girlfriend, and some he lied and said we were married. 3 of the other women were in committed relationships as well, so whoever social media I could find, I did message their boyfriends' husbands. Story 7. Entitled Stepmonster Got Herself Banned from My Wedding, final update. Original post March 17th, 2023. TW, mention of child Abu *E. It's not too graphic, but it's there. I tried posting this on Ada through a different account a couple days ago, but it didn't work out. Given the trigger warning, I'm not surprised. I have since concluded my wife and I did the right thing, so this will be my last attempt to post this story. I tried to add some info and change the wording a little. All names are fake. My 28M stepmother, 49F, is a wannabe party planner. She has taken it upon herself to plan and host every party and holiday my dad's family has thrown since she married him. I never loved those occasions growing up. She's controlling and gets upset if people complain about anything, but humored her for my dad's sake. According to him, this helps her feel included. I'm getting married to my fiancée Jane, 26F, in July. We got engaged in early 2021, but Jane ended up getting pregnant a couple months after that, and we decided to postpone the wedding to focus on our son for a while. So we've had a long engagement. My stepmother has tried to hijack our wedding plans from day one, complaining, contacting our planner, showing up unannounced to Jane's dress appointments, etc., and we have repeatedly asked her to stop. Dad wants us to humor her, but she's clearly resentful of the fact that she's not hosting the wedding or being labeled mother of the groom in invitations. Besides our baby boy, we also have Luke, 4M, Jane's paternal half-brother. She got custody of him a few months into our relationship after his parents died. I ended up moving in with them during the pandemic and have been in Luke's life since he was a baby. He doesn't call me Dad and refers to us as his sister and his OP, but we love him like a son. Stepmother, though, hates Luke. She accuses Jane of baby-trapping her way into the family. That accusation only got worse after our son was born. My dad gets along with Jane and adores the kids, but stepmother demands him to refuse babysitting Luke, so we don't leave the kids with them often. Instead, Jane's brother and SIL usually watch the kids for us, as their children are close to ours in age. We had a thing last Sunday, and my BL was out of town with his family. Jane's other siblings live in different cities, as well as my mom and sister. My dad agreed to babysit at our place, and we left. We came back to find both kids crying, stepmother screaming, and Dad weakly trying to calm everyone down. Apparently, Luke had told stepmother that both he and our son were going to be our ring bearers, and she went ballistic. She screamed that she wasn't going to allow that because he wasn't family. She then made me need to include the trigger warning when he started crying. His lip is still split. She'd never gotten to this point before. We immediately banned her from our house and from our wedding. Dad is fuming and has said he's not going without her. He's also convinced half of his side of the family, by severely downplaying what stepmother did, to boycott the wedding as well. This includes my stepbrother, who fully agrees with his mother no matter how many times I try to tell him the truth. Me and Jane are refusing to budge, but many of my cousins who aren't coming anymore are asking us to reconsider. Pretty much all of Jane's family agrees with us, but one of her aunts has suggested that maybe stepmother is acting out because she doesn't feel welcomed by my family. I've honestly had it with my family enabling her behavior. I love my dad and really want him at my wedding, but I am more than willing to go NC if it means protecting my family. Edit. I think I accidentally deleted the paragraph where I mentioned this, but we did press charges. We took Luke to the pediatrician the next day and gathered every piece of evidence we had. Not only did we have pictures of Luke's face, but by some miraculous strike of luck, we also had nanny cam footage. Some commenters were right to assume that my SM hadn't been invited to our house, but my dad hasn't really gone anywhere without her in years, so we took precautions. We didn't expect her to actually do anything this awful, but we've never trusted her with the kids. The physical attack happened off camera, but there is some footage of her screaming and Luke crying before and after the event. She now has a child abuse charge on her rap sheet. We wouldn't let her get away with this. Edit 2. There is a lot of additional info I want to add. I'll try to respond to at least some of the comments. I did not expect the amount I've gotten so far, but all I'll add for now is that Luke is okay. The visit to the pediatrician happened the day after. He already had a counselor. Jane was pretty traumatized when her dad and stepmom died and was worried it would rub off on him, and will continue treatment. We've been hugging and pampering him a little more than usual, too. He's still upset, but is already doing much better. Update 1 March 22nd, 2023, 5 days later. I want to thank everybody who took the time to read and/or comment on my previous post. It's been a tough week, but it's always great to know that people care. I haven't been able to reply to every comment, but I will try to address some in this update. This might get a little long. I'll start off by saying that me and Jane are going NC with my dad and SM. We haven't really spoken to either of them since the incident, and I don't plan on being the one to reach out. Any communication between us is being handled by my younger sister. She's completely on our side but will remain in low contact for the time being. I've decided to adopt Jane's way of dealing with people she cares about. Forgive what's apologized for, but never forget. Basically, if Dad or SM ever truly understand what they did wrong and sincerely apologize, we're willing to forgive them, even if begrudgingly so. But we will never ignore or let them forget what they did to our family. And for the time being, neither of them will be allowed near Luke, our baby, and any other kids we may have in the future, even if we do forgive them. As for the rest of my family, I read a lot of comments suggesting that I post pictures of Luke's face, as well as the nanny cam footage. I'm not very active on social media, but even if I was, I'm not comfortable exposing my injured preschooler like that, especially given that nothing on the internet ever truly goes away. I also decided not to share the pictures with my family unless truly necessary. I should probably mention that while my family adores my dad, most of them aren't very fond of SM. She had 2 failed marriages prior to meeting my father, the first of which resulted in my stepbrother, and he cheated on his then-girlfriend to be with her. My family loved that girlfriend and disliked SM right away. Not only has she been controlling and manipulative since the beginning, she's also tried to force her way into the family matriarch role by any means possible. Taking over planning duties for every family event was her favorite way to do it, because of all the attention and compliments that come with it. The main reason why I hated these parties growing up was because she'd always find a way to make everything about her, including Christmas and mine and my sister's birthdays. The rest of the family felt neutral about it, but they never liked her. With Luke, it was different. Most of my relatives didn't meet him until COVID restrictions got looser, and by then he was 2 years old. He's a bright and genuinely lovable kid, and there weren't really any other small children in the family, so everyone immediately started cooing over him. The way I see it, SM got upset that Jane and Luke were accepted by my family so easily compared to her experience, and that's why she resents them both, but I can't confirm that. She was also mad that, aside from not being the planner, she would have absolutely no involvement in the wedding party. She tried to pressure us into letting her officiate. One of Jane's best friends was offered that role a year ago. Making stepbrother my best man, he wasn't interested, and I'd already gotten my best friend. Or asking her sister's daughter to be our flower girl. We'd promised Jane's 3-year-old niece, also her sister's daughter is 15 and doesn't know us. She also tried to convince us to let my dad walk Jane down the aisle since her father's gone, but her eldest brother, the Bill I mentioned in the first post, had already been enlisted. SM was disappointed that my family wasn't as involved in the wedding as Jane's, and kept making comments about how that would never happen if we put her in charge. All of that being said, there is nothing that can excuse being that awful to a child, especially if it really is the petty jealousy that I suspect. Because I haven't spoken with my father, my sister has been keeping me updated on what he's been up to. As I found out through her, the story my dad and SM told the rest of the family completely erases Luke's injury and the abuse charges. It insinuates that me and Jane banned them because we got annoyed with SM and decided to take it out on my dad as well. Because most people already disliked SM, explaining what actually happened that night wasn't hard, and most of the relatives that I actually wanted at the wedding have apologized and are berating my dad as well. The people that didn't believe us, as well as those saying we overreacted, have been told they are not welcome in our home anymore. Those are mostly people from my dad's generation, so I can't say I'm surprised. But the realization that they are so biased they're willing to protect a woman they hate after she hurt a child just to make my dad happy has reassured me that I don't need any of them in my life. Stepbrother is still in denial. He refuses to believe his mother could hurt a child, even with all the evidence we have. I have to admit I understand. I love my mom too, but that doesn't mean I'd excuse his obliviousness. So he's banned too. It sucks because we were close growing up, but I don't regret it. Besides, Jane has 3 other siblings besides Luke. The older, BL, a twin brother and a younger sister, and I'm closer to them than I ever was to him. Speaking of Jane's family, they're all furious over what happened, and have been extremely supportive of us. Jane's maternal family basically adopted Luke after she got custody of him, and have called frequently to make sure he's okay. We did manage to save some money with everybody we uninvited, and have decided to use it to help Jane's cousin. She lives in a different country, and was previously unable to come to the wedding, so we're paying for her plane ticket. Luke has gotten much better, and is almost completely back to being the sunny child he's always been. The split lip was shallow. It's healing slowly, but didn't require any stitches. We sat him down a few days ago and explained that my dad and stepmonster wouldn't be around anymore. He really liked my dad, but understands that he and SM are attached at the hip. He's clearly scared of her, but we're doing our best to make him feel safe. Me and Jane have reassured him that he is family. We love him, and no one will ever change that. I'm not too worried about Dad or SM trying to show up at the wedding, but we've alerted the venue and given them pictures just in case they try anything. Better safe than sorry. Some people brought attention to the fact that SM is a hypocrite for saying Luke isn't family. I agree, for obvious reasons. Her main excuse for pretty much everything she does is that she doesn't feel like my family welcomes her. Dad has been guilting me to take part in everything she plans by reminding us of that for as long as I can remember. The way he continues to make excuses for her without realizing this is basically a case of the pot calling the kettle black, except Luke actually is family, is what has made me accept that, while I will always love my dad, it's not healthy or safe for me and my family to be around him anymore. It hurts to know my son won't have his only remaining bio-grandfather in his life, but he has 2 amazing step-grandpas to make up for it. For now, I'm sad, but satisfied with how things have turned out. I don't like to complain about my life. It's a mess, but a beautiful one. I love my fiancé, I love my kids, and I'm lucky enough to love my job. We're happy. I'm not letting anyone ruin that. To whoever was annoyed at my censorship, when posting on ATA didn't work out, Jane suggested I make the writing less explicit. I'm not used to Reddit yet, so I might have overdone it a little bit. I hope this is my last update on this story, but I'll keep you posted. Again, thank you for all your love and support. Best wishes to all of you. Relevant comments from OP. OP, the only reason why I know that this is the first time she's hit him is because this was the first and last time she was with the kids unsupervised. Me and Jane were around every previous time she saw Luke. She didn't want my dad to babysit him, and we'd only asked him to on a few occasions before. My sister was still living with them at the time, and has assured me that Luke was never out of her sight. I know and trust my sister enough to believe her. First time or not, I will not give her a second chance. She'll never hurt either of my kids again. OP when told to secure passwords with all vendors. We've actually had passwords with the vendors since day one. Some of the earlier ones we met actually recommended us to do it. SM did contact our planner a while back saying she had our approval to talk to our vendors. She didn't let her, and we got a bit more strict with passwords after that. Commenté. So is SM serving any jail time? If she attacked a child then and you guys pressed charges, I would imagine she would have to be processed and eventually serve some time for her crime. OP. We hope so. We're setting up a date for the arraignment. Commenté. Start a file for SM. Keep any and all texts, voicemails, and attempts of her communicating. Do the same with anyone who has taken her side because she could escalate and you may need that info. Those people are flying monkeys and she sent them to not only plead her case, but report back to her the things you may have told them so she can continue to play her victim card. You were great to have the nanny cam, but should also make sure to notify his daycare or school that she is not to be given info or access to him. Get cameras that have audio just in case she shows up at your house, and password. Protect all of your wedding vendors and let them know not to give her any info and to notify you if she tries. Your dad may be harmless, but she's not. OP. That second advice is something we've been pretty occupied with, actually. This past week has been mostly about the kids and collecting evidence, but I'll definitely check out the JNML sub. Commenté. Did you say that if your father and stepmonster apologize that you will allow them at your wedding? I wasn't quite sure what you were saying. OP. Absolutely not. My father and SM are not welcome at the wedding, no matter the circumstances. They could offer me an island, and I'd still refuse to let them come back into our lives right now. I only plan to forgive anything far off in the future, and only if they apologize sincerely. Even then, they will have no access to the kids for years after that. Knowing SM, I highly doubt she'll ever feel sorry for what she did, so we're not counting on it anyway. Update 2 on SM, my family and my kids, April 3rd, 2023, 12 days after first update. I'll start off by, probably, disappointing a lot of people. We're coming to terms with the fact that it's unlikely SM will get anything more than a slap on the wrist. Me and Jane are discussing our next move with our lawyer, but we're still not sure how we're going to move forward. It's too early to tell anyway, so we're trying not to get ahead of ourselves any more than we already have. However, I'm relieved to announce that we're getting started on the process for a restraining order against SM. We're using the same evidence we gathered the week following the incident, including the nanny cam footage and pictures of Luke, and we'll focus on that for the time being. I still haven't spoken to my father. My sister is still in LC, but is seriously considering cutting ties with him. Because my sister is the only one on my side that still talks to him, my father keeps trying to ask her about me and whether I've calmed down yet. According to her, he's annoyed that half of his family refuses to talk to him, but still doesn't seem to accept why. I told my sister that she doesn't need to keep playing messenger pigeon between me and our father. I never asked her to do it, and it's clearly taking a toll on her, but she insists she'll stop when it feels right. By the way, there is absolutely no doubt whether SM attacked Luke. Not only did Luke say at the moment we got home, but that was also confirmed by my father in a failed attempt to defend her behavior. He never tried to hide it from us. That, and the fact that he gave Luke an ice bag, is literally the only positive thing I can say about his actions. And SM was too busy screaming about how much of a whining brat Luke was being to deny it. To those who guessed SM is younger than my dad, you get an invisible cookie. She's also 5 years younger than his previous girlfriend. They got together when I was around 15. Also, stepbrother is only a month older than me. She turns 50 later this year, had him at 21, married his father a year later. Both our kids are doing mostly okay. Luke's back to running around the house in his Superman costume whenever he doesn't have anything better to do. He did have few nightmares this past week and has asked to sleep on our bed twice. We don't mention my father around him, and he's still seeing his counselor. Our 14-month-old son has learned 2 new words, hi and bye, and Luke is trying to teach him to say his name. Jane's sister, who moved away for college, is coming over for a couple days to celebrate her 21st birthday later this month. Luke's excited to see her, and Jane's excited to get drunk with her. Can't say I blame her. We're hoping her presence will cheer us all up. I'm not doing so good, and neither is Jane. She's usually the kind of person who tries to keep her negative emotions to herself, but she cried herself to sleep almost every night the week it happened. It breaks my heart to see her like that, and I can't help but feel like this is my fault. There's a part of me trying to tell me I had no way of knowing SM would do anything like that, but that doesn't really change anything. I allowed my father near my kids unsupervised, even though I knew she'd probably tag along. This is the guiltiest I've ever felt, and I don't think I'll ever forgive myself. Jane has been improving lately, and is trying to convince me to see a therapist. I've never really done that before, apart from a psychiatrist when I was younger, but now feels like a good time to give it a try. I was surprised by a few messages this week from people telling me to forgive my father and SM, as well as re-invite them to the wedding. That's not happening. In fact, I'm not willing to ever forgive SM. My dad has now degraded to a huge maybe, but I will never understand or forget what she did. Also, though the wedding is the last thing on our minds right now, we're not postponing it. We considered rescheduling, but the date we'd settled on is pretty much the only one that works for our guests. We have passwords with all our vendors, and gave them all clear instructions not to talk to anyone but us. Jane's family is bigger and closer to each other, which is why they're more involved in the wedding than mine. But I do have family participating. My sister is one of the bridesmaids, 2 of my cousins are groomsmen, and my mom is walking down the aisle with the wedding party. Going through all of this with Jane has made me understand even more just how much I love this woman. I couldn't ask for a better partner to start a family with, and I have no idea what I'd do without her. This didn't tear us apart, and I couldn't be more thankful. I probably won't make any more updates until after the wedding, unless something big happens. In the meantime, as always, best wishes to all of you. Update 3. I saw my father and SM for the first time since she attacked my child April 18, 2023, 15 days after second update. I didn't plan on updating again before the wedding, but something pretty huge happened. The good news is we got the RO. The bad news is me and Jane had to see both SM and my father at the court hearing. This was our first time seeing them since we kicked them out of our house over a month ago, and neither of us were looking forward to it. We left the kids with Jane's brother and SIL, so at least Luke didn't have to see them. The hearing itself went a lot quicker than I expected. I'll give credit where it's due. My father was, at the very least, smart enough to understand there was no way they were winning this. There was a lot of evidence against them. Not only did we have the nanny cam footage and Luke's pictures and medical record, but my sister had also gathered every text and email SM had sent her and the family about what happened. And SM hates speaking on the phone, so there were a lot of those. They didn't even bother to get an attorney for the hearing. The judge granted us a protection order against SM. She's not allowed within 500 feet of us or our property anymore. We're changing all our locks this week, and I'm thinking about changing my phone number as well. I have to admit, the moment we left the courthouse was the safest I'd felt since this whole ordeal started. Jane was close to tearing up with joy when we got to the car. We picked up the kids and went to McDonald's with BL and his family to celebrate. Hours later, my father called me. The order doesn't extend to him, so he can still do that. Jane and the kids were in bed, so I answered. I didn't expect him to change his mind and apologize all of a sudden, but decided to give him one last chance. He tried to start some awkward small talk, but I told him to get to the point. He asked me if the order was truly necessary. I stated very clearly that SM was never coming near Jane or my children again, and that I was glad I had an RO to formalize that. Every excuse he had for SM was pretty easy to shut down. But she only hit him once. Yep, and that's enough for me. The kids need their grandma. She's not their grandma, Mom is. She's my wife. You need to respect her. She attacked Luke. She disrespected my family in my own house. I don't owe her anything, least of all my respect. He then went on a rant about family, how much of a godsend SM was and everything she'd done for me and my sister since she came into our lives. I replied by listing every time I could remember about her lying, overstepping a boundary or acting unhinged around me, my family or my sister. I brought up both my adult life and my youth. Examples included her attempts to hijack most of our milestones, recently our wedding plans, our son's birth, Jane's baby shower, and my sister's college graduation. Her obsession with the idea of a perfect family and her disgusting attitude towards Luke. I also made sure to mention her habits of going through mine and my sister's stuff when we were younger. It's trivial compared to everything else, but this behavior went on until my sister moved out of their house, only 3 months ago. We're pretty sure she found out about Jane's wedding dress appointments by reading my sister's planner while she wasn't home, for instance. Some of the memories I mentioned are long and hard to explain, but they did cement the fact that SM means nothing to me. He tried to go with the whole "she doesn't feel included" excuse again, but I shut him up. I said he'd had the opportunity to protect his grandchildren, but had chosen his monster of a wife instead, and that's enough for me to want nothing to do with him. I hung up without saying goodbye. My sister told me he called her afterwards, and she told him she was going NC with him as well. I think we're both starting to accept our father won't change. It sucks, but he's made his priorities clear, and his children and grandkids aren't among them. For now, that's it. Now that they're fresh in my mind, I'm thinking about sharing some of the stories I reminded my father of, but that's going to take a while. Until then, as always, best wishes to all of you. Relevant comment. Commenter. But she only hit him once would have ended the phone call for me. OP. I almost hung up on him when he said that. The only reason I didn't was because I knew I wasn't going to talk to him again anytime soon, and I still had a lot to say. Commenter. I am curious how your stepbrother is handling all of this. Like, the RO is something you can't just push away. A judge stated that what his mother did was so terrible she needed to stay away from those children. It just feels like something you can't stick your head in the sand and claim that you could never believe that your mother could hurt someone like that. OP. I haven't spoken to him since days before the RO, and he hasn't tried to contact me or my sister. He was still in denial last time we talked, but seemed a bit doubtful. TBH, I think he's the only one who isn't a complete lost cause and still has a slight chance of coming around. He's still banned, but I might be willing to talk to him about this whole thing. Commenter. Holy hell. If you are comfortable sharing, I know many of us would want to hear those hijacking stories. Hope the kids don't have too terribly long impact on their life from this, especially the preschooler. OP. Luke hasn't mentioned her in a while. I don't doubt he was affected by this, but I think he understands everything is okay now. Our baby is barely a year old, and if it's up to me, he won't even know she exists until he's grown. I'll definitely share some of the stories as soon as I can bring myself to write them down. Commenter. It's crazy how the court gave your dad a chance not giving him the protection order, and you giving him a chance to explain on the phone, and he still managed to screw up. You guys gave so many chances, and your dad fails to see that SM is a bad person. Your dad doesn't seem like he's going to change, and until he does somehow, stop giving him more chances. OP. That was his last chance, and he blew it. If he ever comes around, and that's a big if, it'll still take me a long time to allow him back into our lives. Update 4. Stepmonster is gone, and I think it's for good July 13th, 2023, 3 months after third update. After being engaged for over 2 years, me and Jane finally got married last Saturday. We're still getting used to calling each other husband and wife, but we'll get there. Hopefully. The wedding was awesome. The kids had fun, our extended families finally met, and we danced so much I could barely stand the next day. Luke took his ring-bearer duties seriously and held my son's hand as they walked down the aisle. Besides my aunt getting shit-faced and being led out on a wheelchair, which I already thought would happen anyway, everything went according to plan. It's been 4 months since we got the RO against SM. Things have been mostly quiet, and I wouldn't have it any other way, except completely quiet, but we can't always get what we want. I never really worried about SM showing up at the wedding, especially after the RO. It's literally illegal for her to come close to us, and we made it very clear that if she tried, we'd call the cops right away. My friends still warned me to take safety measures, most of which I did. SM didn't show up, of course, but I'm a strong believer that any money spent on security is well spent, so no regrets on that end. My stepbrother and I wished each other happy birthdays, and he also texted Jane on hers back in June. That's the only contact we've had during these months. He knows that the door is still open if he wants to apologize. My dad has given up on trying to reach me. We haven't spoken since April. He's still trying to talk to my sister for some reason, but she's ignoring him. A few days after she went NC with him, they had a huge fight over the phone about SM's treatment of us over the years. Insults were thrown, sore subjects were brought up, and, most importantly, my father took SM's side on almost everything. My sister called me crying afterwards. I wanted to call him and yell at him, but she told me not to. She's doing okay now. She hasn't blocked him but doesn't take his calls or answer his texts. She's only gotten 3. A weak apology, one on my birthday back in May, and a long rant after neither of us wished him a happy Father's Day. After all, despite our differences, he's still our father. He's not wrong. I love my father, and I always will, but I can't be around him anymore. While I've closed that door, I'm not locking it just yet. He knows what he needs to do if he wants his family back. I don't think he'll do it, but if there's the slightest chance he might, I'll consider opening the door an inch or two. This is my wife's suggestion. I'm a lot less optimistic than she is, but maybe it's important to hold on to that hope. She hasn't forgiven him, though. Or SM. Jane has always been very protective of Luke, so it was no surprise that this disaster shook her. A part of me was scared she'd blame me, but she called me a dumbass when I told her that. I've been in therapy for a few months, and it's helped a lot more than I thought it would. I've realized SM's behavior around me growing up was a lot worse than I always thought, and it's great to finally be able to get my feelings off my chest. Right now, I'm more than happy. I just married the most amazing woman ever, and I have the family I always dreamed of. None of us are perfect, but I never thought life would be this great to me. I'll stick around. Reddit is a lot more than I expected, but I can sleep peacefully now, so it's safe to say this will be my last update on this. Thank you all for the kindness and advices you gave me these months. I could have never expected the support I got from you guys, and I can't begin to describe how helpful it was. Seriously, thank you all. Edit, 3 says later. Okay, I updated too soon. I didn't want to write another post, so I'll just add this here. My stepbrother called me earlier today. Apparently, he and SM had a fight and he wants to meet up. I agreed as long as it was just the two of us. We're meeting up for coffee on Wednesday. I have no idea what to expect, but even if he does apologize, I need to know he understands how and why he let us down. New update. Update 5. Final update December 20th, 2023, 5 months after 4th update. Hey guys, I've been away from Reddit for a few months, due to some stuff at work. But a lot of people have been messaging me about my stepbrother, so I want to give you a small update. I've been busy and tired these days, so I might gloss over some details. Feel free to ask me anything. I first met my stepbrother for coffee back in August. He'd had a fight with SM, and the RO was brought up. She'd lied to him about some details, accusing Luke of picking on my baby, bad-mouthing Jane, and more. But this time, he managed to force her to tell him the truth. My stepbrother started to reevaluate his relationship with his mother. After talking to his therapist and his friends about it, as well as the way she'd raised him, he finally accepted I wasn't exaggerating about what she did to Luke. He wanted to talk to me back in June, but didn't want to distract me and Jane from the wedding. Me and my stepbrother spent the last 4 months working on rebuilding our relationship. We've been meeting for coffee or lunch and discussing his mother and what she did to our lives and my kids. Jane started joining us in October, and the kids saw him again for the first time 2 weeks ago. Things were awkward between us for a while, but we're good now. He's also making amends with my sister. In early November, he completely cut contact with SM. Jane and the kids are doing amazing. Luke turned 5 in September, and our baby will be 2, holy crap, in early February. We're spending the holidays with Jane's family in Brazil, while my stepbrother stays with his girlfriend. Things are great. That's all. I'm signing off for now. I'll let you know if anything happens. Happy holidays, everyone. Best wishes to all of you. Story 8. Eta for telling my husband's affair baby's family to either come get the kid or I'm calling CPS. Final update. Original post, May 30th, 2024. My F53 soon-to-be ex-husband Roger, 47, whom I forgave for his affair, came home with a baby 4 months ago. His girlfriend, 22, could not handle it anymore and brought the baby to him at work and left. To the best of his knowledge, she is in Spain. I allowed him to stay so long as I didn't have to do anything. Well, about a month ago, Roger had a heart attack. It didn't kill him, more is the pity. But he is very weak and incapable of doing anything for himself. Since he isn't up and about, he cannot care for his child. He also cannot drop off and pick up his son at daycare. I have been helping, but I'm done. My kids are full grown. I shouldn't be having grandkids anytime soon. I do not have any desire to care for a baby. I told Roger that I want a divorce, and I contacted the mother's parents. I know the father through friends. I said they had until Friday to come get their grandchild, or I was calling Child Protective Services. They just left with the baby, but they scolded me for being so cold towards a baby that had done me no harm. I view that child differently. Roger is recovering, and I will be moving out. The house is in his name, but I have never contributed to it. I have the equivalent of 22 years of rent and interest put away. And as per our prenup, my savings are my own. I work and I don't need anything out of this marriage except myself. My kids tried telling me to stay and help their father. I said that they were welcome to come over and help him with cleaning himself and the baby. Both declined what I felt was a fair offer. I do not feel that I am acting badly, however Roger, our children, his child's family, and a few mutual friends think I am. Perhaps writing this out and seeing the responses will give me clarity. Relevant comment. Commenter, NTA. That child was not your responsibility. Yes, it was innocent, but you're literally not responsible for raising it. You should have divorced Roger long ago. OP. And God forbid something happens, I literally cannot make any decisions regarding medical care or anything. Commenter, fake NTA. Seriously? The kid is 4 months old. You could not have possibly forgiven anyone for this level of betrayal. If you've been married for decades, it's your house, so get what you're owed. OOP. I think the baby is almost a year old. The house was a premarital asset on our prenup. Commenter, I looked at lots of these comments, OP. You are NTA for returning the baby to blood relatives who can look after it. But don't be TA to yourself by abandoning your home without consulting an attorney and making sure you aren't entitled to some of the equity or some of his retirement savings. Don't walk away without getting all that is yours. You said that you have 22 years' worth of savings. That's not a lifetime worth. You might need more to be okay, and you should make sure to get it on your way out. OP. I have a little over $1 million in investments. I'll be fine. He paid for everything. I kept all my money. This comment was downvoted, but OOP's reply made me laugh. Commenter, women these days are cold AF. OOP, I can forward you their info if you are volunteering to take over. Update post, June 26, 2024, almost 1 month later. I am no longer divorcing Roger. There were complications from his heart attack and he has passed away. I am conflicted. He was the love of my love, but also a cheating piece of trash. To the best of my knowledge, the mother will not return from Europe. The child is currently with her parents. They asked me what I wanted to do. I recommended adoption. Not that I adopt the child, that they put the child up for adoption. They didn't like that suggestion. Neither did my children. They said I'm being cold and cruel. I suggested that since the child was related to them and not to me, that they step up. Neither has accepted that suggestion either. I was the sole beneficiary of Roger's estate, so I imagine lawyers will be involved in getting the child some sort of support. I will pay whatever is ordered by the court out of the estate. I will not pay 1 cent out of my money. That is all I have to say on this matter. Relevant? Comment? Ages of OOP's kids. They are adults. To a now deleted comment. I found out about the affair over a year ago. Nothing about this is convenient. Commenter, downvoted. So apparently the affair wasn't that much of a problem as you said you forgave him for that. But after he has a heart attack, you decide to divorce him. It just doesn't add up. OP, I was not responsible for the child. Commenter, true. That doesn't explain the divorce. I mean, you can divide for whatever reason. You do you. To me, however, infidelity seems like a better reason to divorce than having a heart attack. OOP, I was not to care for the child at all. It was all on Roger. Can you explain how a bedridden man was to care for an infant? Commenter, I agree you have zero responsibility to the child. However, if your kids did adopt, how would you feel about that, as the baby would then be your grandchild? OOP, adopted grandchildren are great. To another, new grandchild, I would do my best to treat them as such. Commenter, downvoted. Roger's will may have omitted the child due to the child not being around when it was written. The child should inherit a portion. The child should be eligible for Social Security survivor benefits. Baby needs a lawyer, ASAP. OP, Roger's will also omitted his 2 adult children. Commenter, downvoted. You are evil, you wished him dead, now he is. I hope you at least felt a little remorse for what you said. OOP, I don't. He broke me. To another commenter. We were getting divorced for a reason. Commenter, downvoted. 70% of the posts here are fake. Yeah, my husband just died and I'm dealing with this child situation on top of it. Def gonna post on Reddit. OOP, the situation has been dealt with. I was asked by several people for an update. I have now fulfilled those requests. OP responds to so many people telling her she needs to help the child. Why does anyone think I have the right to place the child with anyone besides family? I am not in any way related to this child, and the child is currently with their grandparents, blood relatives, with standing in legal matters. Editor's note: to avoid confusion, I created a timeline based on OOP's listing of events. OP found out about the affair a year ago, let's say May 2023. At the time, she forgave the husband. In January-ish of this year, 4 months from the OG post, the baby was dropped off. Husband promised to take care of the baby. The husband had a heart attack sometimes in April, a month before the OG post. Sometime between May and June of 2024, the husband passed away. Asterisk, 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 new update post. July 14th, 2024, 12 days later, 1.5 months from OG post. The girl's parents finally did the right thing and cut her off. I had passed along their contact information to several dozen Redditors who seemed eager to help. Just an email. I did not reveal their identities or even their names. I believe this pressure convinced them to act. They finally got the clue that I would in no way take any responsibility for the child. Between her parents no longer funding her and the current climate in Spain against visitors, the child's mother has returned. I have washed my hands of the entire situation, except for one thing. I have spoken with the lawyers, and I will be splitting some of Roger's estate into 3 parts for the children. My children will get theirs immediately as they are adults. The child's money will be going into a trust with his brother and sister as the trustees. This will take some doing, and as such will mean more money goes to the lawyers. Perhaps Shakespeare was correct with regards to that profession. Editor's note: link to that quote and explanation here. OOP clarified in several comments that she was joking. My children are now less enthusiastic about their young sibling, but that is neither here nor there. They were the ones who insisted I involve myself. If there is anything left when I pass, they can split that between themselves, as I will not be leaving anything to that child. Thank you all for your help in my reaching clarity. I was letting my anger cloud my judgment and sense of fairness. Relevant comments? Commenter: I'm glad this is over. The kid deserves better than he's gotten. Not that he was your responsibility in any way. I do like that you used concerned Redditors for assistance. OOP: yes, that's one of the reasons I felt it was apt to post one last time. I appreciate that people were willing to step in to help. Commenter: they were paying her to stay away from this shit show. Why? OP: not for me to say. To another about why she returned and the climate in Spain being against visitors. I was guessing as to the motivation for her return. All I know for certain is that her parents stopped paying her bills. Commenter: nice, you got to a resolution. I wish it didn't have to be so fucked up from the beginning for you, but I'm happy there's an end now. Best wishes going forward, OP. OP: if I'm to be honest, I'm happiest for the child. He is with his mother and grandparents, and Spain is terribly hot in the summer anyway, so she isn't missing much. Commenter: so the Saibs wanted you to do the right thing to a kid that shares no blood with you, but them taking in their blood relative wasn't an option for either of them. And then have the gall to get mad. Their inheritance gets split 3 ways? OOP: there was no inheritance. I was the sole beneficiary of Roger's estate. I just decided to help my children before I'm too old to watch them get any benefit from the money. And the child deserves a share. It's not his fault that his father was a philander and his mother is callow. Commenter: I say inheritance because it's money they wouldn't have had otherwise. But them getting mad that you included their sibling when it comes to money, but not willing to step up to care for their sibling, but expecting you to care for someone who is a constant reminder of your husband's betrayal is telling. If anyone has a right to be mad, it's you. OP: I'm past anger, I am at acceptance. Commenter: was there ever a DNA test done to conclusively prove paternity? Before setting up the trust, it might be wise to do so. OP: yes, I insisted on one when the child first came to live with Roger. Commenter: it's not over, she'll sue his estate for child support. OOP: it will come out of the child's trust if she succeeds. Story 9. Ada for insulting my father's girlfriend and telling her to get out of our lives. Final update. Original post, November 20th, 2023. Told her due to word limit. OOP had a wonderful relationship with her mother growing up. When she was 11, her mother died in a car accident. 2 years later, her father started dating Nicole. Nicole and Dad got married 4 years later, after the accident. Dad came out of his shell but changed. OOP and SS were neglected, both emotionally and physically. At one point, OOP's sister needed stitches, and the neighbor had to drive the kids because they had been left alone, and Dad refused to come back to get them, partially due to Nicole. He eventually made it to urgent care. Tipping point came when the father, who had always celebrated with the kids for their mom's birthday, forgot Mom's birthday and instead went on a trip with Nicole, got delayed and didn't call the kids or say anything about missing the birthday. From the Post. Not even a week later, my father has the nerve to tell us about an exciting surprise. Nicole is pregnant. I get angry and tell my father, "You need to knock her ass up when you can't even be here for us." I then look at Nicole and tell her she is a disgusting piece of trash and to get out of our lives. My father gets angry and yells at me to go up to my room. Later, my grandpa unexpectedly came over to pick me up. My father didn't text me shit. Even as I left, he wouldn't even look at me. It's been 2 days and I'm still at my grandparents' home. I feel ashamed for saying what I said, yet I don't feel overwhelming regret. Ada? Edit. When I saw how deep the cut was, I immediately called my dad. He was staying over at Nicole's place at the time. When I called, Nicole picked up. She said, "Hello?" I said, "Sister's name is bleeding. Can you pass the phone to Dad?" She said, "Dad's name is busy, I can't." And immediately afterwards she disconnected the phone. I then left to go get my neighbor. Update? Same post. I've decided to contact my maternal grandpa tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes. Relevant comment. I am 17, my sister is 13, my dad is 44, and Nicole is 34. Grandparents and their role in this. I didn't touch on this before, but I am currently living with my paternal grandparents. They live the closer to us than my maternal side grandpa. I've tried talking to my paternal grandparents too, but it was also a very wishy-washy conversation. Not to say it didn't help at times, but it's clear that they were justifying my dad's actions at every chance rather than hearing me out. I don't want to live like this. I hate holding resentment, but I can't help it. I've asked my dad about therapy, but he doesn't believe in that type of support. You said you talked to your school counselor. What do they say? They can't point me towards a resource without my dad's consent. The conversations usually end with, to continue to speak with my dad. I don't expect them to have a solution to every situation, but it would be nice to just be heard fully. I also have to censor a few details when I speak with them because they have sent a police officer to my house in the past. My dad was angry about that situation, and I don't want him to feel angry with me. As for therapy, my dad doesn't believe in therapy or counseling, so I'm limited with options. OOP is voted NTA. Mini update 2, same post. November 22nd, 2023, 2 days later. Tail deer. OOP calls maternal grandpa and tells him everything. She asks if she can live with grandpa, but he indicates he can't do anything without father's approval. OOP wonders if there is a legal approach, but grandpa says he wouldn't be able to see us if it got that far. From the Post, my grandpa also shared some new info regarding my dad. According to him, when I was 14 and my sister was 10, my dad dropped us over at my grandpa's farm since he and Nicole were flying out. A day after they returned, my grandpa dropped us back home. We were still sleeping in grandpa's car when this ordeal happened. But when my grandpa knocked on the door, my dad answered the door drunk out of his mind. From what little he could see, my grandpa saw that the house was a mess. He told my dad that he would bring us back the following day once my dad was in his right mind. We left back to grandpa's place. Then my grandpa got a call from my dad the next morning, threatening him with the police if he didn't bring us back immediately. My grandpa mentioned that he would speak with my paternal grandparents to see if something can be done about our situation. Update post, December 27th, 2023, 5 weeks from OG post. Hi everyone, it's been a while. I really want to thank all of you for your perspectives and advice. Just wanted to give an update. Regarding Thanksgiving dinner, When my dad and Nicole arrived, I asked if I could speak with them both. My dad said he didn't want to talk and went into the living room. Nicole still remained by the front door, so I apologized for insulting her. She replied that she needed to leave and went to the living room. Overall, she still seemed rightfully angry with me. Dinner was awkward because my grandma would try to get my dad and I to talk, but he wouldn't really bother. After dinner, I pulled him aside and apologized again. He ignored me and went straight to Nicole. I still wasn't sure if I was heading back with him or not, so I packed everything just in case. When he was getting ready to leave, I asked him if I could come back home. He said Nicole wasn't comfortable having me home even though it had been a few days since the incident. I spent the entire night crying on the phone with my sister. Clerk of Rest of Post. Maternal grandpa tells paternal grandparents he's concerned about OOP's mental health and asks they put OOP in therapy. Paternal grandparents only say they will take OOP to a faith leader who specializes in grief counseling and refuse to negotiate. Maternal grandpa reams them out, and Dad, and says, "It was ridiculous for a grown man to throw out their daughter, and it was shameful that my paternal grandparents are not hard-pressed in helping me get back home." OOP is now going to weekly private sessions with the faith leader, and while she is not entirely happy, it does seem to be helping them process their grief. OOP apologized a lot to her dad through text, but he refuses to respond. Maternal grandfather called and Dad has him blocked. OOP is still living with Grandpa. I also wasn't invited to my dad and Nicole's Christmas dinner, which hurt, but I'm starting to not care to have a relationship with my dad. I don't know if my feelings will change. In a twisted way, it was good he didn't let me go back home with him. The space has helped me focus on myself. Relevant, come on. Is your sister still in the house? I ran out of characters in the update, but my sister is still living with my dad. She visits me over weekends and I've walked home with her from school, so I still have some contact. OOP's comment on Boru post, January 3rd, 2024, 7 days later. Hi everyone, I'm feeling overwhelmed with the amount of messages, but I want to say that I'm not literate regarding the laws around my situation. Regarding my sister and I's college fund, my mom worked in a small boutique, and some money earned through that was set aside. While my dad worked as a consultant, and I do know he did put some money into the funds too. I don't know if my sister and I received any money regarding benefits or any monetary inheritance from my mom after she passed. I'm still understanding a great deal of information and writing everything out first. I even recently opened up a bank account with my grandparents' help, so now I will not be dependent on him for simple monetary needs. I have thought about emancipation, but in less than a year, I'll be 18, so I'm not sure if that avenue is worth my energy given everything else. Also, thank you for leaving info in the comments. I'll certainly be looking into all of that. Also, I know it is a small percentage of people, but please don't send me messages telling me to do violent things to my dad or Nicole or wishing harm on their baby. I don't need that, nor would I wish it upon anybody. Update Post 2, January 20th, 2024, 2 months from OG Post, TLDR of Post. OOP had scheduled a meeting with her counselor and let it slip to the sister that it was happening. Sis started freaking out and that it would hurt the dad if he was reported. She still planned on going to the meeting when Dad was out of town. However, Dad called OOP and told OOP that if I ever wanted a place to live again to not spread lies about him to the counselor. Sis told OOP she accidentally let it slip that OOP was going to talk to the counselor. OOP goes to the meeting and tells counselor what is going on, but asks him to not notify OOP's dad. Counselor gave OOP mental health pamphlets and made a follow-up appointment, but didn't answer her questions about what will happen next. A day later, paternal grandpa told OOP that the school called OOP's father to set up a meeting with the counselor. Grandpa yelled at OOP and told her they'll take the baby and sis away, and OOP wasn't raised to lie. OOP gets grounded. OOP doesn't know what happened in the meeting, but knows a police officer was present and they'll do a wellness check. Dad denied everything and told them OOP was just spiteful about losing her mom. OOP isn't in a great mental space, and as punishment, the grandma stopped taking her to the faith leader. Update Post 3, January 29th, 2024, 9 days later. Hi everyone, I'm only making a mini update. During the meeting with the counselor and police officer, my father knew to expect a wellness check. In fact, he's been home early every single day last week, which is unlike him. My sister texted me last Tuesday that our father came home early from work and told her to behave. She was panicking and freaking out, so I called her to help her calm down. I explained to her that a police officer might come over for a wellness check, and she should answer the police officer's questions honestly. I again don't know specifically what transpired during the wellness check, but my sister told me that the officer came to ask my father some questions and asked her if she was okay. I asked her what she told the officer, and she told him that she was fine. Nothing has come out of it. As soon as my sister texted me on that Tuesday, I tried sneaking out to go over to my dad's home before the officer comes, but my grandpa caught me. He brought me back inside, and we had a yelling match, to put it lightly. I yelled at him, saying he doesn't care for my sister and I. He yelled at me, saying he was tired of my spoiled ass, and that I should be grateful that I still get food and a bed after the foolishness I recently pulled at school. I left in the middle of his rant to calm down in my room. My grandma came up shortly afterwards to check on me. She said that your dad and grandpa are going through a lot to figure out this mess, and to please not make it worse for her sake and for mine. I asked her what she meant by for my sake and hers. She said that I need to mature and act like an adult and to not cause her stress. Then she said, "You need to stop stressing, Nicole. You know, the poor woman has been calling me crying about what you did. She's scared for the baby." After she said that, I did not have the energy to enter into another yelling match, so I told my grandma that I needed some space and left. The counselor did not follow up with me during school last week. Also, I think it's for the best right now. My sister had a panic attack last week. They almost called paramedics because she couldn't stop hyperventilating. I know she is suffering and doesn't need anything else placed on her mentally. I also don't want to break her trust again after going to the counselor. She is the type of person to keep things to herself if there isn't a strong rapport. If she is going through something, she will not tell you unless you force her hand. I still want her to feel safe and open when she speaks with me. I'm still evaluating my options and trying to find the best path forward. Side note, I keep getting questions about this in my DMS 1. My father, as far as I know, currently does not drink excessively or do hard drugs. 2. No, Nicole is not my stepmother. She is just engaged to my father. 3. I am not going to run away. I'm not careless enough to do that given everything. Tiny update, same post. Around February 8th, 2024, 10 days later. I'm now living at a friend's home. Edit. Hi, I noticed that my post has been posted on Facebook and TikTok. I understand this is a public forum, but if you could, please refrain from sharing or sending my post on other platforms. I'm getting a little scared that my dad or grandparents may find it on FB, or my friends might find it on TikTok. Thank you. Relevant comment. Nicole is staying over at my grandparents' place because she has bad nausea and fatigue from the pregnancy and needs my grandma's help. Nicole's mother isn't flying in for another week, so she is staying over for the interim. Since there is only one other spare room, my grandparents asked me to stay at a friend's house for a week. Update, same post. February 15th, 2024, 1 week later, almost 3 months from OG post. My sister is in the hospital. She got into a physical fight. Maternal grandpa is coming in tonight. Update post 4. February 18th, 2024, 3 days later. This will be my final update for a while. Over a week ago, my grandparents asked me to live at my friend's place for a week since Nicole needed my grandma's help with the pregnancy. For context, Nicole has severe fatigue and nausea, and her mom was coming in a week later. Also, my grandparents have only one extra bedroom, which is why they asked me to live at my friend's place. I was not mad about the arrangement. I got to be away from everyone, which was helpful. My father and Nicole's relationship. My father is working, so he is unable to take time off to help Nicole, hence her needing my grandma and her mom's assistance. After overhearing a conversation with my grandma and Nicole, I learned that both of them have a lot of stress, and it's making her feel depressed. That's all I know about them. Sister in hospital. 3 days ago, my sister ended up in the hospital. My sister has been bullied for a long time. We've reported it to the school numerous times, but nothing is ever done about it. A girl who has been harassing her online started name-calling and laughing at her while they were walking to class. My sister, then, pushed the girl away from her, which escalated to a physical fight. The girl bashed my sister's head into the locker while they were fighting. My sister was then unconscious, and the school immediately called emergency services. My grandparents went to the hospital, and I went when I was done with school. My maternal grandpa drove in that night. My sister ended up with a severe concussion, but she came back home on Friday. She is doing better but is still having bad headaches. The bully was suspended, but nothing else was done. BTW, in all of this mayhem, my dad did not show up once at the hospital. Living situation. I am now living with my maternal grandpa, but my sister is living at my dad's place. My grandma has been going over to check on her, but the fact that she is still living alone in the home is worrying me. She is still recovering from everything, and no one is fucking there for her. My maternal grandpa asked my dad if he could take my sister with him for a week, and he said no. This POS also threatened to call the cops on my maternal grandpa again. I'm calling the cops on him after he leaves for work on Monday. IDK what else to do to get her out of the situation. Relevant comment. Your sister absolutely needs someone with her. That's the only reason why I'm calling the cops. No one is there with her. My grandma comes for 15 to 20 minutes and leaves for the rest of the day. She threw up twice on Saturday and no one was home when it happened. Also, I have no idea if my grandma would show up if my sister called for help. I'm now 2 hours away, so I can't go. The following dated updates are on the same post. February 19th. The cops and my grandma found my sister unconscious in the house. She's in the hospital again, and they think she hit her head again when she fell. CPS is now involved. February 21st. Nicole decided to hold her impromptu sex reveal party this weekend while my sister is in the hospital, and my dad is involved in a CPS investigation. IDK WTF, she is thinking. This woman has fatigue and extreme nausea and thinks she has the energy to entertain her entourage. Also, on a more important note, my sister is recovering well, but she is being kept at the hospital for longer observation. February 23rd. My grandpa is searching for a lawyer to seek custody, and my dad is being actively questioned. Relevant comment. Tie for your well wishes. As of today, my dad is being actively questioned, and Nicole ended up pushing the gender reveal party back. My grandpa and I talked about my sister's situation, and he is in the process of obtaining a lawyer. Hopefully, she'll be able to stay with us soon. February 24th. Update. My sister had a seizure, so my grandpa and I drove back in tonight. Grandpa wants to press charges against the bully. Relevant comment. You are absolutely doing the right thing, and your dad is abusive. Yeah. It's a tough pill to swallow and even harder to accept reality as it is. I had to keep telling myself that he's not my dad anymore, nor will he ever be. Rewiring the way you see a familiar person isn't easy at all, and I have questioned many of my decisions the past 2 months, but it's for the better. Another one of my biggest fears was losing a sense of family. Though he was never there or my paternal grandparents sided with him, there was still the idea of family. But even for that, I had to rework through those feelings and understand why I felt that way. It's a process to keep telling yourself that this is not how a family is supposed to be. February 26th, update. I'll be meeting with a CPS worker this week. Also, the doctor is suspecting my sister may have a more severe TBI than previously thought, so she is going to stay at the hospital this week. Nicole announced she was having a girl after my sister was admitted to the hospital for the 3rd time. Dad is still nowhere to be seen. Only thing he has done is called my maternal grandma telling her he'll be out of town this week. February 27th. My sister has mobility issues. They don't know to what extent yet. February 29th. My sister will need physical therapy for the next few months, but she is slowly recovering. The school has extended the bully's suspension, and school administrators have started direct communication with grandparents. I have the meeting with CPS today after school. March 1st. CPS meeting went well. A lot of the questions centered around my sister's situation, but I brought up the urgent care situation and my dad's absence. I brought along conversation recordings too, but they really couldn't do anything with them. I heard that they will speak with a couple more family members and Nicole. Update Post 5, March 4th, 2024, 3.5 months from OG Post. I really want to thank you guys for your support and wonderful advice. This has been a crazy roller coaster in general, but I'm glad it's finally coming to an end. There is still a lot more I'll go through, but I'm relieved that my sister is safe. Just to preface, all of this literally happened today. My other post was also becoming too long, so I thought to make a new one. At school, the front office lady called me up over the intercom during the middle of my exam. I go over and I see my dad standing there. This man pulled me out of class so he can bring me back home. I immediately told him that I'm not coming, and he said I don't have a choice in this and to move. During all of this, we are still standing in the front office. I then yell at him to leave, and he yelled at me to shut up and move. Front office lady got involved and asked if there was a problem. I told her that I refused to go back with him and asked her to call my grandpa. My dad then grabbed my arm and tried dragging me out of the front office, and I just kept screaming. The lady called the security officer, and he came over. My dad told him I'm acting like a brat and am the problem child. I told the officer that I now live with my grandpa and not him. They call another officer over, and he tells me that I'm only allowed to leave with my father. The officers leave, and my dad gripped my wrist and pulled me towards his car. Then, he fucking orders me to get into the car or else. I try getting away, but he shoves me into the passenger seat. He then warned me not to try anything and drove off back to his house. He then says I have to care for my sister while he's at work this week because I'm responsible for what happened to her, and this is my way of paying back for everything I put him through. He then texts me a minute after he leaves telling me to not fucking try anything and that he'll physically discipline me if he has to. BTW, he has never physically hurt me or severely threatened me like this before, so it was frightening when I saw the text. A while after he left, I called the cops and said I was taken against my will back to his house and told them about him manhandling me. Cops came over, and maternal grandpa came over. Since no caretaker was home for my sister, and my father didn't pick up his phone, the cops allowed my grandpa to take her back home with us. They located my father a bit ago and arrested him. It's a shit show RN, but now my sister is living with me and maternal grandpa, so she is at least safe. Relevant comma. Switching schools. I'm probably going to finish up HS at the same place since I got 2 months left, but I've asked my grandpa to consider homeschooling for my sister. I feel a bit safer that he's gone for now. Document the bruises. Also, hopefully the school cameras caught what happened. I wasn't able to record in the car, but the cops did note down the bruising on my wrists and head. I didn't even think about mentioning the school cameras. I'll find a way to relay that info. Ty! How was Sis when you went back to the house? Was she alone? She was still in bed, and no one came by to wake her up to have lunch or breakfast, so she was left hungry. It's an unsafe situation because she can still faint or pass out, and after the other incident of her passing out on the hardwood floor, she sustained another concussion. I have no fucking idea why she was alone. My grandma supposedly comes by to check up on her during the morning and afternoon, but my sister needs constant supervision. Again, all additional updates are added to this same post, March 6th. My grandpa noticed bruising around the nape of my sister's neck, and I noticed a lot of bruising on one part of her abdomen while helping her change. The bruising could not have come from her fall or the fight she had a couple weeks ago. We're suspecting the worst and have reported and documented the bruises. My sister is also not in a state where she is able to fully hold conversations. But from what she was able to tell me, my dad hit her on the neck and threw something at her stomach while she was asleep. Everything has been reported to CPS and police. Relevant comment. Paternal side family called yesterday and started going off on me. I got called a lot of things and was told I was no longer welcome in their family. Idgaff, they can do whatever they want. School is a 20 minutes walk and a 6 minutes drive from my father's home. But after what happened, I doubt that my father would try to pull something like that again. Also, after the whole call, I block them all on everything. I have no intention of speaking or dealing with their business. Regarding the baby, they detected a heart abnormality. They are going to a specialist in a couple more weeks to figure out what exactly is the issue. But the fact that they suck at basic parenting worries me about the baby's care after she is born. Random side note, Nicole is not even Christian. But grandparents have looked past that the entirety of her and my father's relationship. They have always shitted on me for not attending Sunday school or volunteering more at the church. The people there, aside from 3 individuals, respect my grandparents greatly and are one and all the same. They will 100% spin this as a child straying from God and her father trying to save her BS. Also, this is the same church that kicked a woman out for a suspected abortion. It was never confirmed. Instead, it was a rumor spread by another member of the church. Slowly and maturely, everyone stopped associating with the woman. These are also the same people who claim my mother's death was part of God's plan to help the drunk driver who killed her reach closer to God. This exchange. Commenter. If your paternal grandparents try to contact you, make sure you get it in writing or record the convo, if you are in a one-party state. If you're able to get a lawyer pro bono or through funds, make them talk to you through a lawyer. I hope karma gets them really bad. Commenter. I don't know about Nicole, but definitely feels like your dad has been lying to everyone. I won't be surprised if he told her you and your sister were with grandparents when he was out and about with her. March 8th. I didn't think he can get any scummier than he is. But today, through my lawyer, I found out that this Pios just got charged with possession of child P. Apparently, they searched his phone regarding a situation involving my sister when they came across the graphic pictures. I sincerely hope he rots in hell. Relevant comments. Commenter. Oh gosh, your dad is disgusting. For him to have such horrible material, I hope he didn't do anything heinous to your sister. Sis. I'll never know if he was like this before, but I really hope he wasn't. Sister does have suicidal ideations, but after she recovers a bit, my grandpa already has a potential therapist lined up. We are worried about her. She's gone through more than me by a mile and hasn't gotten a semblance of help. From conversations I overheard between my grandpa and other family members, it is highly likely she'll be homeschooled for a year or so. News has already reached the church and school. I've had people ask me about it indirectly, but I just changed the topic. No one has pushed the convo, though. March 12th. Nicole is in the hospital because she was bleeding heavily and don't know if the baby is okay. March 19th. My sister is recovering well and she will be starting PT soon. I also committed to a BSMD program yesterday. Nicole and the baby are okay, but police are looking into Nicole for something, but IDK for what? March 20th. Comment. Ty. I got 2 scholarships which will cover my part of the cost, but I'll be working, so not too worried about that. Grandpa has offered therapy multiple times, but I've been a little scared restarting the process and going through it again. Bully is in the process of being expelled, and there is an internal investigation going on with the handling of the situation. Grandpa moved forward to press charges, but I really don't know much on that front. He has been deliberately keeping me out of the loop to not stress me out. March 22nd. They found CP on her phone and computer too, and she's been booked. March 23rd. Comment. Afaik. There isn't anything suggesting they did anything sexually to her. However, this is only backed by my sister's word and the lack of physical evidence. The CP predates October-November when I originally left, so if anything was going on I would have known. Regardless, I don't think there's much we can do if she is deliberately hiding something, and the chances of that are pretty slim. I only hear about paternal side, though, family friends, through classmates whose parents attend the same church, or through my maternal grandpa. They apparently did not attend church this past Sunday, so... March 29th. Grandpa told me that paternal grandparents are petitioning for custody of my sister and me. April 11th. TBU. Suicide attempt. I have not posted any updates because I'm focused on my sister. She's in the hospital again and is recovering slowly. I've been mentally shaken up by the whole thing. I should have been at home more watching her. Grandpa is already stressed out as hell, and IDK how to help him at all. April 14th. Comment. We started taking her to therapy after her PT appointment twice a week. My grandpa can't afford it out of pocket, and has been struggling with the insurance people. Somehow, paternal side got a wind of the financial issues and started pursuing another petition for custody of only my sister under the guise of covering her medical expenses. The therapist never shared with us if she mentioned anything of it. I'm pretty sure she didn't anyways. She's reserved in many ways and keeps her struggles to herself unless she feels truly comfortable with you, which takes a while to establish. However, she mentioned situations regarding physical abuse, which has been sent to police for record. April 28th. Comment. After her hospitalization, we learned that she developed partial blindness in her left eye and refuses to speak to anyone. I try to talk to her, but she ignores me and sits in silence. She isn't speaking to anybody, not even the doctors. Also, the judge granted paternal grandparents primary custody of her to finance the medical expenses. Grandpa is in the process of selling off a portion of the farm to pool more money. She had acute liver failure and is still considered a potential danger to herself, so she is still there. May 3rd. We finally got an official court date for his trial. May 5th comment. Hey, I'm doing much better now. Sister will be discharged later this week, but will be going home with paternal grandparents for a bit. IDK much about specifics, but my grandpa filed a civil lawsuit against them for my sister's injury when she fell down. We still haven't gotten a buyer yet for the property, so I'm not sure where we'll get more money. I'm also looking to defer my enrollment because of it. May 25th. My grandpa has unexpectedly passed away. Editor's note. To clarify, this is the maternal grandfather that passed, the only decent adult in this story. Update post 6, June 7th, 2024, 6 months from OG post, 2 weeks from last update. My grandpa passed away in May. He was meeting with a friend after a meeting with the lawyers when it happened. I truly do not know how to feel. Everything after was a blur, and I'm still having to deal with the aftermath of it. The funeral was rushed and messy. He was not even buried next to my grandmother, but was cremated against his wishes. I was never once asked what my grandpa would have wanted. It seemed like people wanted to get over it and move on. I don't even have my grandpa's urn, and I don't know who has it now or what happened to it. I was never given a moment to breathe. Within a week of his passing, I was moved to 2 different homes of relatives I've never met. I've lost a lot of contact with my sister. She is less and less responsive to my calls or texts. My relative is trying to arrange a meeting for us by communicating with my paternal grandparents. He told me that he met with my sister, and she was healthy and doing well. IDK, what's going to come from the custody issues now? June 9th. The custody battle is officially dropped, and there is a visitation agreement being worked out. He has been sentenced already. New updates. July 15th, 1+ month later, I met her this past weekend and she seems to be doing well. July 29th comments. Sis, we are talking regularly now. She has access to her devices, and I have met up with her recently. She seems to be doing fine, but I am not living with her. Legal statuses. Dad is currently in jail, but not her, Nicole. She was able to prove that he downloaded the pics on her device without her knowledge. She did give birth in June to a girl. Her daughter was born with a congenital heart defect and will need surgery when she's a couple months older. I have not met her, nor do I want to. I just wish her and her child the best. Why Sis is living with paternal grandparents? My paternal grandparents have custody of my sister because they have the financial capability to pay for her medical bills. They've disowned me for a while now, and I don't wish to live with them anyways. I am living with his cousin who have a kid around my sister's age. Have they reached out to you, seen you bully status? No, we haven't had contact since around the time of the funeral, and even then, it was to ask contact information for my grandpa's friend. They have not asked about me, nor have they seen me in months. I have seen my sister in person twice now, so it's not like they are preventing me from visiting her. Before, they wouldn't allow me in their home, and my sister had frequent doctor visits, so I'm guessing so she can focus on her health. Idruk. Bully only received suspension. Final post July 31st, 2024, 8 months from OG post. I am personally done speaking on my situation. I'm getting ready for college and am back in contact with my sister. She has recovered well with a few things still ongoing. A lot of the other things still pending may take months to resolve. However, I am ready to move on. Thank you all for the advice and well wishes. Edit. I am extremely grateful for all the supportive messages, especially over the last couple months. But I've also been getting a good amount of angry or demanding messages regarding to continue giving updates. I am not going to elaborate or speak on him or the trial. To those of you messaging me about that, I hope you can respect that.